Simba, you look so cute in your tie. You want to give me 5? Oh, thank you so much. You're such a good kitty. Hi guys, and welcome to DIY with Nadia. In today's video, we are doing top 15 Deco Mesh Easter wreaths. Without further ado, let's get started. Here are the supplies I'm going to use for this wreath. I have this super cute sign from the Dollar Tree, and I thought it matched our Deco Mesh, so I'm going to be using this. Next, you're going to need 3 rolls of Deco Mesh that are 10 inches by 10 yards. I'm going to use 2 of these, and then I'm going to finish off some Deco Mesh that I have left. So this is going to act as 1 Deco Mesh, and I'm just going to do every other blue, pink when I'm making my bundles. Next, I'm going to need 15 pipe cleaners and then 2 more for the sign, so 17 altogether. I'm also going to use some of this mesh ribbon that I love, 14-inch metal wreath form from the Dollar Tree, and to cut the Deco Mesh, I'm going to use a rotary cutter. To prepare our pipe cleaners, I'm going to just fold them in half and cut them down the middle. This is going to give us 30 pieces of pipe cleaner. I decided to cut these 2 together and then these 2 together. I'm going to use my little bucket. I have my pink, I have my blue, overlap them. I'm going to put my phone to act as a little anchor. I'm cutting down all that fraying on the edges. And now I'm ready to start cutting 10-inch strips. For this wreath, I'm going to need 30 bundles. And in each bundle, I'm going to have 3 10-inch strips, which means I'm going to need 15 of each color, both the pink and the blue. And now it's time to do the Deco Mesh from Hobby Lobby. I'm just going to double up on these. Let's move them to the side and roll a little bit. Put my phone to hold it down. And here I go, 30 pieces at 10 inches long. So basically for 2 of these rolls, that's going to be 60 pieces. Grabbing the mesh ribbon, I'm going to cut 15 strips at about 10 inches each. We're going to put these on every other bundle of curls. Now it's time to put everything together. Our wreath form comes in 6 sections. Each section is going to have 5 bundles of curls, 3 curls per bundle. Every other bundle is going to have either a blue or a pink Deco Mesh curl, and every pink one, or maybe let's make it blue, every blue one is also going to have this ribbon on it. Grabbing our pipe cleaners that we cut in half, I'm going to make the little V like I always do. And of course, don't forget the little clip, paper clip, clothespin, whatever you have on hand. Let's roll our blue. And I like to roll them about 1 inch in width. Got a little clip going. Then we're going to add 2 Easter rolls. I'm just going to put one on top, and then I'm going to roll another one and put it at the bottom of kind of like the snowflake that I make, and crisscross it the other way, just like this. So the blue one's in the middle, and then on top we're going to put a piece of mesh ribbon, and we're just going to do that on the blue ones. Now we have our pipe cleaner. Try to get it in the middle somewhere. Let's tighten that up. 2 twists. There you go. We have our bundle. You can do this one of 2 ways. Finish all your bundles and then put them on, or just finish each bundle and put them on as you're going along. So on here, I'm going to be using these 2 rows to put my bundles on, and I'm literally just going to put it around row 2 and 3, twist in the back, fold in and fold back, and one of our little bundles is done. Next, I'm going to use 2 of our Easter ones and then 1 of the pink ones. Next, I'm going to do 2 of the Easter ones, the blue one, and then a piece of the mesh ribbon. And I'm just going to continue alternating the blue with the mesh ribbon and the pink, blue, pink going all the way around. First section is done, so give it a chance. This may not look full to you in a sense, but if you are going to be all done and all of these are going to get squished in, it's going to be a very, very full wreath. I'm halfway done with this wreath, and look how humongous it is. And that ribbon, oh my goodness, it makes such a difference. I'm going to see if I can find something similar maybe on Amazon or Hobby Lobby, but it's the cheapest to buy this mesh ribbon at the Dollar Tree, but it is hard to find, so I'm going to see if I can find something online that is similar to this, and I'll attach the link in the description box. Back to making my bundles. I'm going to finish up this half. Look at this full wreath, and as you can see, it won't even fit on my screen. That's how big it is and fluffy. Almost looks like a baby shower wreath because of all the blue and pink I have in there, but that's okay. These bunnies are going to change everything. So the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of the jute cord. And then we're going to attach some pipe cleaners to the back. You can attach 2 to 4 pipe cleaners. I decided just to do one on top and one at the bottom. As always, I'm going to grab 2 felt pieces, 2 pipe cleaners. I'm going to take my pipe cleaners, fold them in half, make a little seat with our hot glue. Going to do a little dollop of pipe cleaner on. Then I'm going to put some hot glue on top, on the pipe cleaner itself, and at the bottom. And then put our piece right on top, and this is what's going to seal in that pipe cleaner so it goes nowhere. Now it's time to put the sign on our wreath, and I want the sign to go in a little bit. I'm going to help it along right now, pushing the curls out to the sides and working our sign in. I'm just attaching it lightly. Then I'm going to make sure that the sign is in the place I want it to be, and then I'm going to really secure it in place. Just want it to go in a wee bit, and I also want these little holes to be covered, so that's why I'm kind of tugging in. There you go. The holes are kind of covered by the Deco mesh, and I think that looks really, really nice. Now that we're done attaching, I'm going to go to the back and let's see where my center is. Now I'm grabbing the jute cord that I took off from the sign, and I'm going to make a little hanging loop, just making a few knots. And we have a hanging loop. To cover the back, you can either use a placemat or a steering wheel cover. Before I put the steering wheel cover on, I'm going to give it a few really, really nice stretches. And then I try to hold it in one spot with one hand, and then with the other hand, I go around the wreath form. If you feel like this is showing, just grab one of the curls and cover that up. It's not a big deal. The hanging loop, make sure it's not coming from the top, but just grab it and pull it from underneath so it's not in the way of the wheel cover. And there you go, you have the hanging loop. The back is covered, and all we have to do is just make sure that everything looks good. That mesh ribbon, I'm going to make sure it is sticking out everywhere. If you have any fraying going on, make sure just snip that off. Sometimes when you get the Deco mesh that has the foiling through it, like right here, it tends to fray a little bit, so just make sure to snip it off very lightly. Don't disturb anything, and then that's it. To get started on this wreath, you are going to need this super sweet bunny metal wreath form from the Dollar Tree, some Deco mesh, and I'm going to be using white Deco mesh, and then something fluffy for the ears. You can either use one of these microfiber cloths. In my case, I'm going to be using one of these infinity scarves. I got this from the Dollar Tree during the holiday season. The first thing I'm going to do is the ears to get this out of the way. So I'm just going to put the little wreath form upside down, and I'm going to cut my infinity scarf. The reason I chose to use this scarf is because I want to use both the front and this back of the scarf to kind of give it an extra layer of protection here. I'm not going to be cutting anything except the edge of it. The first thing I'm going to do is attach the ear to the fabric, and I'm just going to hot glue it right along, attaching it and just turning it in. I really don't want to cut anything here, so I'm just going to hot glue it right over. And same thing on top. The space between the fluff right here and the backing, I'm going to put more hot glue right there on the edges so we can seal that off. How super sweet and simple was that? If your bunny ears are touching right here and it's hard to put in the second one, just squeeze it really, really gently and really, really slowly. Just squeeze this part right here just to move it. In my case, it's okay. I can actually put a finger through here, but if you can't, just squeeze it very, very gently. And same thing with the second ear. The diameter of actual wreath form is 9.5 inches. Here it says 17.3 inches. It is counting the height, but the actual circumference here is almost 10 inches. It does have 3 rows right here. We're going to be using this middle row. The method we're going to use for our mesh is going to be a mini bubble method. For my pipe cleaners, I'm going to be using these silver ones. They're not really going to show when we're done with the wreath, except from the back. I just have a lot of these when I bought them around Christmas time. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these into 3-inch little strips because we're just going to need so little of the pipe cleaner. So I'm going to just continue here folding the pipe cleaners in half and half again. We're going to overlap 2 of these Deco mesh rolls and of course make sure they are rolling down. I'm going to go about 1 inch in and gather. Before I attach to my wreath form, I'm going to make sure I have 4 of the side endings. I'm going to start from this top section right here. For this first connection, you can either use a zip tie or I'm just going to use one of these pipe cleaners. The pipe cleaners from Christmas are very strong and they have a metallic little connection right here. So I actually like using these. Before I move on, I'm going to grab all my pipe cleaners. It's always so much easier when you fold these in a little V or a little 45-degree angle, and then off you go. Now let's get started on our bubbles. I'm going to only measure off 4 inches, and I know that seems so small, but that's the point of this wreath, is we want to make sure the little loops are small so the shape of the bunny is just going to be kind of cute and perfect. I'm attaching my bubbles on the middle row. And 4 inches is going to be just enough to cover that inner and outer row of the wreath form. Here is my wreath so far. As you can see, you cannot see this bottom row or the top row. It's nice and tight. And as I'm going along, I'm kind of making sure that my little bubbles right here are stretched out because I'm now going to be opening these up. This is basically going to be a kind of a tight knit kind of thing going all the way around. So as I'm making my bubbles, I make sure I spread them out from the inside and then attach. I'm done with my first section and I just want to give you a side view to show you how small these little bubbles are. They are so cute, and of course they are mini. And I have 14 little bubbles in this top section, and I'm just going to continue going all the way around, making sweet little bubbles and just making it as tight as possible in the back. And you can make it as tight or as loose as you want, but because I did not paint this white, I do want to make sure that all of it is covered. So I'm going to keep my bubbles fairly tight and close to each other. I'm done with one roll of Deco mesh, and I have the wreath almost full. I have like 1.5 sections left. So what I'm going to do is I have some leftover mesh from previous project, and I'm just going to use that and continue on where the other mesh left off. I have my other Deco mesh finished this way, and I attached it to the second row. I'm going to go in and attach it to the first row and then continue making the loops on the first row so it overlaps here and I can make it tight. You don't want to connect them on the same row because you're going to have a gap. So I make my loop and I attach it to that second row. Bunny wreath is all done. What I decided to do is grab some greenery. Now you can grab whatever greenery you have on hand. This is some Dollar Tree greenery I have left over. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to first lay it out. I'm going to have greenery on both sides, kind of cascading right here. So I want some longer ones right there as close to the end of the ear as possible. Just layering them. There you go. I'm going to keep these on the sides in case I want to add a little bit more. But let me turn this around so I can actually see what I'm doing. Next, I'm going to grab my finger protector here, and I'm going to just hot glue this to the fur. And then this one I'm going to make just a little shorter. Next, it's time to pick out your flowers. I'm going to be using these felt flowers you can get during Valentine's at the Dollar Tree. But if you didn't get these, you can definitely use any flower of your choice. I just wanted to show you these ranunculus that I absolutely love. But just choose whatever you feel like and whatever is going to work within your color palette. Before I hot glue the roses onto my bunny, I decided to grab these little pearl garlands, and I have a pink one and an ivory one. I got these at the Dollar Tree during Valentine's also. All I'm going to do is lay them out kind of right there, and then a pink one, and I think another pink one. I don't know why, but I feel like I need more pink. So I'm going to find the middle between these three. I'm going to glue them straight in the middle and then put my dark flower right on top right there. And these I can kind of lay out a little later, but it just gives this little elegance to this whole thing here. These two pink roses, I'm just going to snuggle to the sides of my dark one and hot glue in place. I am absolutely in love with this sweet little bunny, but now it's time to hang it. I'm going to grab a piece of jute cord and I'm just going to put it on this middle row, tie a knot, make sure it's nice and tight, hide the endings, and we are ready to hang this little cutie. Shelf liner, I'm going to be using a minimum of 6 of these shelf liners. Usually it takes 6 for a round wreath, but because this is a cross wreath, it's going to probably take me a little bit more. I'm thinking about 7 rolls, but I'll let you know in the description box. We are also going to be using a fabric. Now here you can see the fabric because it's layered. But if you take it apart, it looks like mesh. It looks like very, very thin mesh. So it's going to just give it a little bit of a shimmer. It's not really going to stand out or be too pink. It's going to give this wreath a very elegant look. And of course, the cross wreath is from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to start with the fabric. The fabric is 12 inches in width right here, and I'm just going to cut it in half into 6-inch strips. Our shelf liners are going to be 6 inches by about 7.5. So the fabric is going to be 6 by 8. I got my fabric all cut up. Now it's time to get the shelf liner going. As you can see, your shelf liner will come in 12 inches at the Dollar Tree, and you want to cut it in half. I used to unfold it all the way before, but you know what? The shelf liner from Dollar Tree is so thin, and look at the line. Nice, perfect, even line. Nothing frizzy, so this works just as well. Next, I'm going to take this shelf liner and I'm just going to cut it in half and in half and in half and in half. I'm not someone who would waste any, and this is how I always make it. So I just fold it in half, and you want to cut this until you get a rectangle that's about 6 inches by 7.5 inches. And then here you go, you have 6 inches by 7.5, almost 8 inches. And that is how quick we are done with our first roll. I'm going to do the same thing with the second half. And that's it. This roll is done. I'm going to continue cutting the rest of the shelf liners, and I will be right back. These are the pipe cleaners that are always in my description box and also in my Amazon shop. They are 6-inch zip ties, and I find them to be perfect for pretty much anything I do. I'm going to start with the bottom of the wreath. I always kind of come up and then do all the sections on top. Let's get started. So you have two options to do for the bow. You can either do it this way, bringing up. I usually do this if I'm working with a wreath that has 3 rows, and then you would just attach it and it would make a thick kind of wreath. I like using it this way. So let me grab a piece of fabric here. I know the fabric is fairly sheer, but just wait till I'm done with the bow. It's going to be so beautiful. And I'm just going to find my center and come up. Look how pretty the bow is. I hope you guys can see the shimmer in it. It's so pretty. Then I'm going to grab my zip tie, and we are going to be filling in these 2 middle rows. I zip tie it almost to the end, but not quite. I do want to make sure that everything is centered, and that's when I'm going to just bring it together on top, just like this, and then zip tie it in place. Here is what it looks like so far. I'm going to fill in this section and I'll be right back. There you go. I am done with the first section. I have 14 here, and now I'm just going to go around cutting off all the tails from the zip ties here. And there you go. I think I have room to add another pair right here. This looks pretty filled to me, so I'm going to move on to the next section and keep on going. The wreath is all done, and I am absolutely loving it with this fabric. I'm sure the camera doesn't show how it is in person, but I will add the fabric in the description box that I got at Joann Fabrics. Now, one thing I want to show you is, because you're going in 2 rows here, if you have holes like this, all you have to do is just crisscross them, and you should not have much issues with it, because this is supposed to be a liner. It's supposed to catch onto each other. And look at that. I did that a few seconds ago and it's fine. There's no holes here. And I just would sporadically just go throughout like that, and just grab one end, bring it to this side, the other one, bring it to that side, smooth it over, and there you go. And now let's do the embellishment. For the center of the cross, I'm going to be making a bow, starting with this beautiful rose ribbon that I got at Craft Outlet. I'm going to make a long tail. I'm making it 14 inches. And then here I'm going to start twisting. This is a one-sided ribbon, so you do want to twist. I'm going to make this loop 5 inches, bring it to this side, And then I'm going to twist, take it to 5 inches here. If you want, you can definitely do it by hand, but I love using the bow maker. You can find these bow makers for $10 to $12 on Amazon. They're not expensive, and they are a huge help when you're making these bows. And as I'm completing my loop, I'm going to do a twist here. This next ribbon I got from Michael's during their after Christmas sale. And here I'm going to do the same thing. Twist right away because this is a one-sided ribbon. I'm going to continue making 5-inch loops with this ribbon also. And twist. For the final ribbon, I'm using this elegant pink, and it's by Fray, and I got it at the Dollar Tree. And this ribbon doesn't really have a side, so you can just go ahead and just make the loops here. To bring this bow together, I'm sneaking a zip tie in. And because this is a fairly thick bow right here, I'm just going to zip tie it in place. Now I'm going to start opening my bow up. I grabbed the 20 gauge floral wire, fed it through the back of the zip tie, and now I'm going to attach it to the cross, and then I'm going to proceed to mess with the bow and just make sure that it looks nice. Find my center here. Give it a few twists here. With the wire that's left over, I'm going to make a loop right here, just as you see. And then I'm going to put that loop through the bar over here, lock it in, and that is how I'm going to hang this wreath. I'm going to just dove all the tails. At this point, you could be done with the wreath. I, of course, you know me, I have to ribbon tail them. Fold in half, pinch, and bring back. Fold in half, pinch, and bring back. And I'm going to do the same thing with this cute little pink one. Pinch and bring back. Just lay it out nicely. I have to mention this pink ribbon that I'm using from the Dollar Tree. It's the first time I'm using it. And I have to say that wire is so super thin. I don't know. It's a little bit too thin almost. For today's wreath, I'm going to be using this Deco mesh from the Dollar Tree. It has the 3 colors, the pink, yellow, and purple. I have 6 rolls. I think it should be more than enough for this wreath. And so let me show you the wreath form. This is the first time Dollar Tree has gotten this egg wreath form, and it is 16 inches in height, about 11.5 inches in width. It has 4 rows, and we're going to be using the middle 2 today. I'm going to be using the Nadia method for this wreath, and I thought that would be a good idea because the bows will keep the shape of the egg really nicely. And now the details on our Deco mesh. Our Deco mesh is 6 inches by 5 yards. We're going to be cutting our Deco mesh into 12-inch strips, and it's going to give us 15 bows per roll. The pipe cleaners I'm going to be using are the silver ones, and I thought it would be just fine. This Deco mesh does have silver in it, and besides, it's not going to show anyway. But I'm going to be using these. Of course, all pipe cleaners are 12 inches long, so if you cut them in half, they're going to give you 6-inch little strips. And if you're having issues with your hands, it might be easier for you to cut them in half. but I usually cut them into 1/3, which will take it down to 4 inches. Then I take my 4-inch sections and I make a little V. It's just easier when you're making the bow just to grab it and put it straight onto the bow. One of my favorite cutting mats is this one by Fiskars. I bought it on Amazon. I'll have the link in the description box and it's in my Amazon shop. But I absolutely love it because this outer square is the 12 inches and it's perfect when I'm making my wreaths. Now let's make some zero fray Nadia method bows. We're going to grab one of our 12-inch strips, start walking it out until the endings are overlapping about 1 inch to 2 inches maximum. We're going to pinch on top and the bottom where it's overlapping. Hold the overlapping in the center as you bring your little strip down. We're going to hold with my left hand. I'm holding on top right here. With this hand, I'm going to bring it down and we're just going to walk it up. With my thumb, I'm just holding the overlapping so it doesn't go anywhere as I bring it up. I'm going to turn it over. This is our smooth side. This is why I make the little V's. It's just easier. But here's our smooth sides. We're going to grab our pipe cleaner, put it over right here. I like to just pinch. With this other hand, I'm going to get everything out of the way. And I'm going to do 2 twists. And here is our bow. As far as the fraying, you have one side of the fraying right here in the back. And the other side of the fraying is actually inside one of our loops. And it's nice and secured. There you go. But you have a perfect little bow, no fraying. It's nice and tight and it's ready to go on a wreath. Let's make another bow. Just walking it out, 1 inch to 2 inches maximum. Pinch on both ends, put it in the center, bring it down, hold on top. With my thumb, I'm going to hold it right here in the center as I'm kind of moving along. With this hand, we're just going to accordion it up. Pipe cleaner, smooth end. Bring it back and we're going to give it 2 twists. There you go. And we have another little bow. One more. And it's time to start putting our little bows on our wreath. I have them all done. I still have more on the side here. And we're going to be using rows 2 and 3. And the way I like to do it is I like to zigzag, starting with the 3rd row from the inside, because this one is the longest one, and I'm just going to zigzag down. Do you have to zigzag? Not necessarily, but the reason I do is I feel like they fit in a little better when you zigzag. So once again, I'm going to give 2 twists in the back. Then I'm just going to fold this in half, just like this, and fold back. And it's all tucked in nice and smooth in the back. Once you start squishing everything up, if you have a stubborn little bow that doesn't want to kind of fold in, what I do is I take the tail from the next one and just put it on top of it and then just squish it back. I'm done with one section and it's quite a big section. And you know what? I think if you actually try, you can get away with using 4 rolls. That's why I love the Nadia method, because we are packing them in and they're nice and tight here. And I think if 17 goes here, 17 goes here, maybe 17 goes here, then we can just have a few whatever left over in here. And this could be a 4 roll kind of wreath, but I did cut up 5 already, so I'm really going to pack it in. I'm going to go ahead and put the rest of the bows on, and I will be right back. Next, I'm going to grab this little color your own decor, this cute little bunny, And it comes in a set of 2, and how adorable are these little bunnies. But I'm actually going to use the back side of one. And I'm going to start with giving it a paint of this pink. Now that our bunny is nice and dry, I'm grabbing some pearl stickers. And I get these at Walmart. And I'm just going to put them right along right here. Now that the pearls are on, I'm going to grab some Mod Podge. And the reason I'm doing this is this wreath is going to my mom, and she is going to have it on her, front door. So I want to make sure that, first of all, these pearls stay in place. And this is chalk paint. I want to make sure that the paint stays in place. And we're just going to give it a nice coat here. Over the pearls is fine. It'll dry nice and clean, and it won't be noticeable, but I am kind of going to go a little bit heavier in between the pearls right here, just because I do want it to really stick there. I'm going to set my bunny to dry, and we're going to make the bow. This bunny is just so adorable. So it's going to go in the corner right here, and for the bow, I'm thinking of this purple and this ribbon from the Dollar Tree that has little eggs on it. My mom likes purple, so that's why I decided to do that. And I like to have the wreath itself when I'm doing bows, because you kind of want to measure how long you want the tail to be and stuff like that. As far as whichever ribbon you start with, go with the one that has the most contrast with your wreath. So, of course, this one has more contrast, or stands out more, might be another way of putting it, than the purple one. So I'm going to start with the white one. I want it to be possibly even this long. Longer is better, because I can always adjust that. And I'm just going to make a simple bow. You don't want to make it too big either. There you go. And I'm just going to use hot glue to just dab right there where it's connecting. And make sure your tails are facing down. Now the purple one, you're just going to play off of this one. And before I even do that, I'm going to grab a piece to go around. And the purple one is a grosgrain ribbon. Dab right there, dab right there. And face the tails down. Even though we're going to go around, the purple's taking over. Even though it's going to kind of, we're going to see the white. I think I'm going to do another layer of the white on top of the purple. We bring these two together. We're going to make the third one a little bit smaller. These eggs are starting to look like polka dots to me. Now that I put this one over, we're not going to use this piece. I'm going to grab some of the purple and just hot glue it to the back. Wait a little bit. For bows that are kind of bulky, I like to wait for the first one to dry just a little bit. That way you can feel comfortable bringing it back and tightening it up. I'm going to grab another piece of purple and just tie it. Just make a knot. I just want the center to be a little bit more interesting. I just felt like it was a little too wide here and I needed some dimension. And now you got a super cute little bow. Before I hot glued that, I'm just grabbing some floral wire real quick and then doing that last loop. I'm ready to attach. This floral wire is super thin, so I'm just going to go around my deco mesh here and tie it. I know I have a big piece, but that's okay. I absolutely love it. That's kind of what I had in mind when I was doing the bow. So I think that's going to be super cute. Now we just need to add the bunny right here. And I'm going to attach the wire to the bunny, what I consider to be an old-fashioned method. I got my floral wire, and now what you want to get is either fabric or felt. I like using felt because the heat of the hot glue really melts the felt in to whatever you're hot gluing it to. And so this is a piece of wood. I think it'll be really good. First, going to hot glue the felt. laying the wire over the felt, and then I'm putting another piece of felt over it. But as I said, you could do this with fabric, you could do this with anything, but when you do this, I'm telling you, this thing is going nowhere. I'm all done, but I decided to put a little tail on the bunny. I feel like it needs it. A good dollop of hot glue so our little cotton tail stays in place. How cute is that? Let's go over our supplies. I got this hop sign from the Dollar Tree and I thought it would match this perfectly. We got lilac right here on the H and yellow on the P, so it's perfect. Speaking of Deco mesh, I got this one at Joann Fabrics and it's 18 feet. That is only 6 yards, not 10, so always pay attention to the length. I knew I was getting a shorty, but I wanted the colors real bad. Because this Deco mesh is only 6 yards and we're going to have our ruffles a little shorter, I like to fill in with some white Deco mesh and it's going to match the little O, so all of this is going to work together nicely. I'm also going to be using some foam eggs, 12-inch pipe cleaner, and a 14-inch wreath form from the Dollar Tree. This is the silver one. I like to use the lighter ones when working with lots of white and yellows, you know, those brighter colors. We're going to use the 18 pipe cleaner method for our wreath form. This Dollar Tree 14-inch wreath form comes in 6 sections. In each section, we are going to put 3 pipe cleaners. If you're going to use an 18-inch wreath form, then you're going to use the same concept. You're just going to need more pipe cleaners. It's still going to be 3 per section, and you're going to need more Deco mesh, of course. The first pipe cleaner in each section is going to go on rows 1 and 2. And I'm going to bring my pipe cleaner up so it locks in a little higher because we want to fill the section in really nicely. And I'm going to put this pipe cleaner down. The second and third pipe cleaner are going to go on rows 3 and 4. Same thing, I'm going to bring them up. And the way I look at it, they're going to go to the side of this center one. And there is my second one. And that's it. Just bring it up, 2 twists, and we're going to lay it down facing towards the outside. We have 1 section done, and we're going to repeat the process going all the way around. I'm all done putting in my pipe cleaners, and as you can see, I have 6 on the inside and 12 on the outside row. Now let's talk Deco mesh. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my white roll of Deco mesh and I'm going to need 18 strips at 10 inches long. We're going to make curls with these. Now for the ruffles, if you're using a 10-yard roll of Deco mesh, you're going to get 12 pieces from each roll. Because my Deco mesh is only 6 yards, I'm going to have to go down to 24-inch strips, and I'm going to have 9 in each roll, which will make it 18 altogether. Here is how I did my math real quick. You take the length, 18 feet, and then we're going to convert it to inches. Just Google that part. And you're going to get 216 inches. Then I took that, divided it by 9 because I knew I needed at least 9 pieces, and that gave me 24 inches. For the ruffle method, you can have your Deco mesh pieces anywhere from 24 to 30 inches. Starting with my white one, I'm just going to put in my little basin. I get this one at IKEA, but if you don't have it, I always say you can even use a shoebox, but it does need to be something a little stronger so that your Deco mesh roll stays in. I am going to be using a rotary cutter. This one is from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to cut about 10-inch strips, and I'm going to need 18 of these. Now it's time to cut our pretty Deco mesh. I'm going to be cutting it at 24 inches, and of course, you're going to need 18 of these. Our deco mesh is all cut up, and now it's time to start making our ruffles and attaching to our wreath form. I do have a little clip because I want to do both the curl and the ruffle together. So I'm going to just grab my curl it up, and clamp it. Now for my ruffle, I'm going to make sure that it's curling onto the table. Tuck it in about 1 inch or make like a 1/2 inch curl at the end to prevent the fraying. Now I'm going to gather my deco mesh. At the end, because our deco mesh is rolling onto the table, you're already going to have that 1/2 inch tucked in. So just grab it and bring it together. Grab your curl, put that on top, and you're ready to attach. I'm going to start by attaching on the inner row, and then I'm going to make my way out to the outer row. Let's do our second one. First, roll the curl. And now for our ruffle, tuck in about 1 inch and start gathering in the middle. Tuck in 1 inch on the other side, bring it together, and then add your curl on top. And because this is a two-sided deco mesh, since the yellow is on the inside, I'm going to put the yellow on the outside on my next one. And I'm going to do this going all the way around, just every other color. That way we have a nice balance. Our first row is on, and I know it looks so empty in some spots, but just keep this in mind. Between all of these, you are going to have 2 more deco mesh pieces, because we have 1 and then we have 2 that are right here. We have 1 and we have 2 right here. So it's going to fill in really nicely. Start doing the same thing every other. Since my lilac is on this side, I'm going to start with the yellow towards the inside, then lilac, then it's going to work nicely with this yellow, and then lilac yellow. Our first section is done right here, and it's nice and full. Even cutting my deco mesh in 24-inch strips, the ruffles are beautiful. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to all the pipe cleaners, and we're going to twist them all the way up. We're actually going to use them in our decor, so all the way up. Next, we're going to grab the foam eggs. I'm going to take the 4 blue ones out because I don't think they're going to match that well. And then I'm going to grab some leftover florals, and I'm going to cut off a little stem. I do have an awl, but I wanted something a little thicker than an awl, so I'm going to use this. Then I'm going to very gently twist off the little ribbons at the end of these eggs. Poke them with a little stem, but just don't go too far. Put a little bit of hot glue right on the inside, and then we're going to grab the egg and just push it onto our pipe cleaner. Do the same thing here. The reason I'm twisting off the ribbon is if you pull it out without twisting, you can pull out this area, and you don't want to do that. Poke it just a little bit, hot glue right on the inside, and then attach it to the next one. At this point, we're all done except for the centerpiece, so let's get that taken care of. I have my sign, 2 pipe cleaners, and 2 felt little pieces. I'm taking the jute cord from the bunny ears. I decided to attach in the center. We have our pipe cleaners, make a little seat with them. A little bit of hot glue, then our pipe cleaner, then more hot glue on top, more at the bottom, and our piece of felt goes right over. Same thing on this side. For more stability, I decided to add a pipe cleaner right here, and I'm just going to let this cool. I don't think I was recording when I attached the sign, so let me flip it back. I attached the sign on top, on both sides, and I also put in a jute cord to hang the wreath. This wreath, I'm starting with 6 rolls of deco mesh, and I'm going to be using 4 purples, and 2 of these really pretty ones. And the reason I'm going to be using these is, let me show you. Look at these cute little guys that are going to go in the middle of the wreath. Everything is from the Dollar Tree, including these little cuties. And I thought this would be so perfect because we have the pink, the yellow will go with the chick real nice, and then the purple is our overall color. And then of course you're going to need some pipe cleaners and a wreath form. This is a like a beige wreath form from the Dollar Tree, and of course it's 14 inches. And you're going to need some kind of a ruler, measuring mat. For my bubble wreaths, I just use this one from the Dollar Tree because we're going to be making 8-inch loops, and this is just perfect because it's 8 inches right here. The last thing you're going to need is some zip ties. This is optional. I use the zip ties when I'm making the initials, beginning and end of our little bubbles, because I just want to make sure that it's nice and secured. As far as the pipe cleaners, you can cut them in 1/3 or 1/2. I'm going to cut them in half this time. First, I'm going to start unrolling the Deco mesh, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the lilac, then the colorful one, and then a lilac on top. An inch in, I'm going to start bringing it in. You can begin or end at any of these intersections because as you come around, you're going to have the other end either in here and here. So if I start on 2, then the other tail is going to go on 3. So it really doesn't matter which one you start with. I'm just going to go in right on top of the intersection right here, just like this. Then grabbing my zip tie, I'm going to tie it in place. And then this part right here, I'm going to send in the back. Doesn't get in anyone's way. And then we're going to start with the loops. As you can see, my Deco mesh is rolled out this way, so the bubbles just form naturally. And I'm going to grab my 8 inches, bring it in, tie it with my pipe cleaner, send the pipe cleaner back. Then my next 8 inches, by the way, my bubbles are going on row 3. My first section is complete and I have 7 bubbles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And now I'm going to be moving on to my next section. As I'm making my bubbles over here, I wanted to chat with you guys. So a lot of you have contacted me saying, you know, with the prices going up at the Dollar Tree and the amount of Deco mesh you get for a roll at Dollar Tree, it might be smarter to buy online. Okay, my question is, where do you buy online? Do any of you know a good website where you get beautiful Deco mesh and, you know, you save and you buy what you want, buy the colors that you want, and we can have fun with it? So if you buy online somewhere, I would love to hear from you because then I can order, I can try it out, and if I can, you know, justify it being affordable and most of my subscribers can afford it, then I would definitely recommend it and we can try it out. We can, you know, we can do this together because my goal at the end of the day is to make sure that we can all afford these beautiful wreaths. And I'm also not forgetting the fact that not all of us have Dollar Trees. And I thought if we can find, you know, a website or two that we can have affordable Deco mesh and beautiful high quality Deco mesh, it'll be good for all of us. For now, I'm going to continue making our loops and finish off this second and third section of the wreath. We are on our last loop here, gathering my 8 inches, and my lilac one is just enough. I have more of the other left over. To show you where my zip tie is going, it's going right here on this intersection on row 2. Just going to cut this off. I got my tail cut off and I'm going to go on the intersection right here. I'm going to put this down right here, shove it down, zip tie it on top, push it back, finish zip tying it, and cut it off. I kind of left to do the tails at the end, and now I'm just going to go around and do my pipe cleaners. I'm going to twist it twice on top, fold it in half, and then back. That way we're going to have a nice backing here. Fold it in half and then back. All right, all of the back is done on one side, and now it's time to start the second section. So since I locked it in on row 2, we're going to start on row 3. I already layered lilac, then colorful, then lilac, 1 inch in. We're going to push it inside right here between rows 2 and 3, just like this. And then grabbing my zip tie, we're going to zip tie it to that intersection on row 3. Just like that. And so on your halfway points, you're going to have one begin and one end, just like that. Nice and clean. You can definitely cut this off a little bit later if you want, if it's too frizzy. And I'm just going to continue making 8-inch bubbles, and then of course 7 loops per section. This connection is right here on the 3rd. We're going to finish off on the 2nd. So push it through between rows 2 and 3. Bring our zip tie in here. See how smooth and clean that is, even at the connections? And now I'm going to go ahead and tie the rest of these. This is the completed wreath in the back. Now we go to the front. The way I'm going to open these up is I always start from the inside and I push it down, especially because of how delicate the Deco mesh is from the Dollar Tree. I start with the most inner layer and I kind of push it down and then out. So that's our inside layer, and then I'm going to do the same thing here. And so the lilac that's on top is going to be on the outside. The lilac on the bottom is the one that's going to be on the inside. And I want this colorful one to be in the middle, so I'm going to continue that. I'm not going to be mixing these up like I usually do when you have 3 different colors. So I'm just going to start with the bottom one, push it towards the inside, then the middle one, and same thing, we're going to push it down as we let the other lilac go to the side. And then we have this beautiful yellow and pink that's going to be peeking through. And I think it's going to be a really, really pretty wreath. I just wanted to show you the progress real quick. I think it's going to look so pretty with the yellow and the pink peeking through. All right, my wreath is all done and I'm ready to put my cute little centerpieces on. I'm going to remove that. These big little tags are not too attractive, so going to remove those from their little booties. I cannot believe the cuteness that's going on over here. I'm going to grab a 20 gauge 18-inch wire and I'm going to, let's see here, I'm going to poke it through the center of their little bodies. And trust me, this wire is going to be more than enough to hold it in place. I'm going to move my little animal so I'm at an intersection here. That way I can lock it in place. And then I'm going to pull it taut and go in this intersection on the other side. And our cuties are all settled in here. This wreath is a little bit on the dark side because of all that lilac. And these bunnies just brighten things up. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a color out of our little animals here and do little decor. So I'm going to take the white. We have the nose that's white, the little ears. Then this little thing right here is white. And of course the ducky has a little bit of white in his eyes. And we're going to bring all of that out by using some vase fillers. And I'm going to be using these. Dollar Tree has these pretty much year round in the silver and the white. This is from Christmas, but they can usually be found in the wedding section. There you go. And you can choose to either use the bigger ones or the smaller ones. I'm just going to use whatever I have. You can also use little eggs. If you have mini eggs for Easter, you can do that. But I find little polka dots are cute and I love polka dots. I'm going to be just adding some hot glue and just sticking them anywhere. As far as the little vase fillers, I always start with the bigger ones. And then as I fill them in, start adding the smaller ones in. today's wreath, I'm starting off with this wreath form. It's 14 inches, metal wreath form from the Dollar Tree. Then I have a roll of Deco mesh. This is 10-inch Deco mesh from Hobby Lobby. It was $9.99. I did get it at 40% off. Next, I'm going to be using some chenille wires from the Dollar Tree. And also from the Dollar Tree, I'm going to be using this beautiful pink and kind of greenish ribbon that will match perfectly this little green and pink right here. And this is burlap ribbon. It's really pretty. And also this little decorative ribbon from the Dollar Tree. For this ruffle wreath, you're going to need 12 chenille stems. This wreath form consists of 6 sections, and I'm going to start by putting a pipe cleaner on row 2 and 3 right here. The reason I put my pipe cleaner on both of the rows together is it has less chances of moving and it's stronger when you put the wire on both rows. Setting up this wreath form is super easy. Now that we have a pipe cleaner in the middle of each section, what we're going to move on to is in between sections. I'm going to attach a pipe cleaner on this intersection 1, 2, 3, so row 3, and right there where this divider is, I'm going to just attach it, give it 2 twists, and we're going to fold it outside of our wreath form. And there you go. This wreath is super easy to set up. 1 pipe cleaner inside each section in the middle on the inside, and 1 in between sections right along the wreath. Really easy. Now let's get started on the Deco mesh. This roll was $6, but it's going to look more poofier than if we use the 6 rolls from the Dollar Tree that would have cost us $7.50. Each one of these rolls are 10 inches by 10 yards. 10 yards gives us 360 inches. If we divide our 360 inches or our 10 yards into 12 sections, it's going to give us 30 inches. So we are going to make 30-inch strips. My board is 24 inches, but we need to add 4 more inches. So I'm just going to use my ruler, and the way I do it is the beginning of my ruler, I'm just going to put right underneath here, add 6 inches, and I'm just doing it so you can see it. I'm going to move it to the side and then cut along the 24-inch mark. So 24 plus 6 will give us the 30. I'm going to go and cut slightly off the edge here because just a little bit on the rougher end. But because I want my 30 inches, I'm going to be cutting this really carefully. I got my Deco mesh all cut up, and we're going to be using the Woodland method, also known as the Cruffle method originally, that was started by Amber from This Southern Girl Can. I just found out that she started it. I had no idea. So I've been calling it the Woodland method like a lot of us creators who have been using this method for, for a while now. I am going to attach Amber's channel in the description box because you gotta give credit where credit is due. When I found out this method was also called Cruffle, I'm like, that's so perfect because it's a curl and a ruffle. So we are going to get started by doing the curl first. We're going to give 2, 3 rolls of the curl, and this is what's going to prevent all that fraying. Then I'm going to grab a clip. You can also use a clothespin, anything you have on hand, and I'm going to roll this out. And I'm going to give it a few rolls on this side just to get all those endings kind of enclosed. Straight in the middle, I'm just going to collect. When I'm done, this ruffle is going to be kind of thick, so I'm just going to kind of push it flat. I'm going to push it flat, and then I'm going to get started and start attaching it on my wreath form. Doesn't matter where you start. You're just going to grab one. If you're starting with the outside, then you're going to go to the inside row and just keep on going. And I'm going to give it 2 twists, and that's it. Look at this. It's so big. It's so beautiful. You just can't compare the Dollar Tree Deco mesh to this. You can't. Let's do another one here. I'm going to do 1, 2, clip in the middle. And then here, there you go. And let's bring it together. And when you bring it together, as you will see, it's thick. And we're just going to squish it nice and flat. And then we're going to move on to the next one. 2 twists. And I'm just going to continue making all of these ruffles and just one after another, placing them in a little bit of a zigzag pattern right on the wreath form. Because just the way it is, it goes inside, outside, inside, outside. As I'm laying these in, as you can tell, there's the space right here. So what I did with the second one is I turned it to fill that space in. And then you have this ruffle over here. And then here you have this open right here. So when I was putting this one on, I made sure I put it on this way. We're going to have ribbon on top of this, but I already wanted to set up where it's already forming its shape, and it's going to just be such a beautiful wreath. And I know you guys are seeing it's quite bare. If I pick it up, you kind of can still see my hand, but don't forget, we're going to have ribbon on top of that, and just, oh, it is going to be so pretty. One last thing, when you're attaching your poofs to your wreath form, make sure you put them upside down so that the curls go in and towards the bottom of the, I guess, the table or whatever you're working on. It is so poofy and gorgeous. Now it's time to work on our ribbon. The ribbon I will be cutting into 12-inch strips, and I'm just using my ruler like I usually do, and I'm just going to wrap the ribbon around the ruler. I don't know why, but they hot glued the ribbon to the actual spool. So guess what? This last little one I'm going to have to get rid of because it's kind of damaged right here also. From one roll, I have 8. Would have had 9 if they didn't mess this one up. So I have 12-inch ribbon and 12 pieces. And I'm just going to go ahead and make little dovetails here. And because this is burlap ribbon, I just do 2 at a time. If you take any more, it's just going to get a little bit harder to get it nice and centered. I have both the pink and the mint green ribbon all done, and I have the dovetails on both of them. And now I'm just going to grab this other ribbon, and I'm going to, here you go, 10 inches, and I'm going to make it a little shorter. I'm going to cut it into 10-inch strips. Same thing with this ribbon. I'm just going to make dovetails on all of the strips. Now we're going to go to the center of each poof, and we're going to grab our ribbon. Doesn't matter which one's on top, which one's at the bottom. And here is how I'm going to do it. I'm just going to crisscross them. Put this one straight in the center and then gather it. And I'm going to put it at the center of our poof. And if our poof is going right here, from here to here, as you can see, the ribbon is going the other way. That's what's going to cover the actual wreath form. And then when you fill it in like that, it's going to be full and it's going to cover everything that needs to be covered. As far as our chenille wires, you can keep them if you're going to string something on like an ornament at Christmas. But if you don't need to string anything on, or maybe you're not putting anything in the center at all, you could just move the pipe cleaner towards the back. And if you are new to my channel, I'm going to show you really quickly how I do this. In the back, I'm going to give it 2 twists, just like that. Then I'm going to bring 2 endings of the pipe cleaners together. I'm going to twist them. When that's done and they're together, I'm going to fold it in half. And then if it's too long, I'm going to fold it again and then fold it back, just like that. And in the back, you have everything clean. Nothing scratches in the back. It's folded. It's nice and neat. And if you're making these wreaths to sell, this is a beautiful presentation. It's not messy in the back. Just look at this ribbon. It's so pretty. I try not to focus on straightening out the ribbon at the time I'm doing it. I just want to make sure that they're even before I tighten that pipe cleaner up. And now I'm just going to continue making my ribbon bundles and attaching them to our wreath. Now that I have attached my ribbon all over this wreath form, we want to take care of the center of the poofs. You can either just kind of bring your ribbon together and hide that center, or I usually prefer to put something on the inside. You can definitely put an egg, and I got this one at the Dollar Tree. They have so many options. What I chose to use are these beautiful fabric roses. They're actually made out of burlap, and I thought that would work together really nicely with the burlap ribbon that we're using. And as you can see, they come 4 in a pack. So for this whole wreath, it's going to cost you $3.75. And they all come with little metal tails or little stems, I guess. And they're about 2 inches long. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just push down my ribbon and slide the little wire or the stem of the rose right underneath our pipe cleaner, and it'll go through because you have so many ribbons there. And as soon as I adjust my rose to the center, I'm just going to wrap the wire around the bottom. It's only 2 inches, so it'll curl in really quickly. And then I'm going to proceed to poof that little area out, and look at that, so quick and absolutely gorgeous. I'm going to continue adding these roses all around the wreath, and that's it. Our wreath is pretty much done. It was simple to make. It's elegant Easter colors, and if you want to make it more for spring, just don't use this egg ribbon. Use something springy, something maybe with flowers. Just a simple white ribbon or ribbon coordinating with your deco mesh. Dollar Tree also carries these roses in a beautiful brown burlap color. So if you're making this wreath more farmhouse, this would be lovely. And that's it. Before I get started on this wreath, I want to kind of go over really quickly how I pick my colors, because a lot of you have been asking how I coordinate things. So I start with the most colorful thing, which would be this ribbon from the Dollar Tree. It has different color eggs, and basically what I do is I pull out colors that I think would work real nice, and also what I have on hand. So I found this purple egg, and I was like, oh, great way to use up my fall deco mesh. And then I found this blue. Now this blue from the Dollar Tree is a little bit like aqua, but I think I can make it work. So these are the 2 ribbons I'll be using, and they are 2.5 inches by 108, and you would need 2 of each color. The deco mesh I'll be using is Simple Style. I got this one at Join Fabrics, but you can also find it on BB Crafts and Amazon. It is 21 inches by 10 yards. You could probably make 2 wreaths from the 10 yards. If you're careful with how you cut and how you measure, you probably would get 2 wreaths out of this one. The wreath form I'm going to be using is a Dollar Tree silver wreath form, and this is the 14 inch. The last thing you're going to need is pipe cleaners. You're going to need 18 pipe cleaners, and that's going to be our magic number for today's wreath, because we're going to put 18 of these pipe cleaners on our wreath form. So that's why we are going to need 18 of each ribbon color. For now, let's count off our 18 pipe cleaners. When I initially started making wreaths, the most intimidating thing to me was looking at these wreath forms with all of these pipe cleaners sticking out, and I was like, where do you even start? How do you start? Well, we're going to break it down, and we're going to make it so easy. You're going to be like, oh, that is just too easy. All right, so we're going to grab 3 pipe cleaners. We have 6 sections on here, so we're going to multiply 3 times 6, which is going to give us our magic number of 18. We're going to be using rows 2 and 3. I usually count my rows from the inside, so it would be 1, 2, 3, 4. That's just so you know. We're going to be putting on row 2, on the second row from the inside, 1 pipe cleaner, bring it to the center, and give it a twist or 2. Moving on to row 3, we're going to put 2 of these on here. So there's 1 and there's 2. So now let's look at it. Row 2, you have 1. Row 3, you have 2 on the sides over here. That's it. It's not intimidating, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to continue put all of these pipe cleaners on, and I'll be right back. Now that we're done with our pipe cleaners, we're going to go to the next step. I call the next step a spiral. Here is why, and this is what's going to make it easy to understand. We're going to have our spiral go either from inside out or from outside going in. Meaning some wreath makers like to start with row 2 and work their way out, or work from outside in. I personally like to work from inside out because when you're doing that second row, it's going to be easy for you to finish up. Say we start our spiral right here. I'm going to put my finger. We're going to go to each of the sections and make our loops going all the way around. Now here we're going to actually complete our spiral in a circle, but then we're going to make our way out. If we end and start right here, we're going to continue our spiral on row 3, but what we're going to do is we're going to switch to the next section because we're going to be making 9-inch loops, and 9 inches from here to here is quite a lot. So we're going to give it a little bit more room, and we're going to go from this circle that we just completed to the next section right here, and then from here we're just going to be making our 9-inch loops going all the way around. I hope that makes it easier to understand. As I said, we're going to start right here, go all the way around, finish here, then we're going to go to the next section in row 3 and then continue making our loops. Let's start with our Deco mesh. This one's kind of frizzy at the end, so I'm going to go in 2 inches. I'm not going to cut anything right now. I can cut later, but I'm going to go in at least 2 inches to make sure we can cut this part off. And what I'm going to do is just gather. My Deco mesh is going to unroll to make these loops right here. Starting with this one, I'm going to go in, open it up, and just give it a tight twist or 2. And because it's our first one, I always like to zip tie it. As I always say, I sleep better at night knowing that it's zip tied, it's going nowhere. I'm going to only do this to the first one and the last one. And if you're wondering, well, then why do you need this? Well, because we're going to be adding our ribbon to these pipe cleaners later. So yes, we do need this. But I'm just doing this to the first one, zip tie it, and put it to the side so it's not in the way while we're layering right here. We're going to be making 9-inch loops. My square right here, this darker second square from the center, is 8 inches. So I'm going to start right here and then add an extra square, which is the lighter color right here, and that's going to give me 9 inches. I keep it tight when I'm measuring, so keeping my Deco mesh nice and tight. There's my 9 inches. And then I'm going to go to the next section, row 2, where I only have that one pipe cleaner. And I'm going to give it 2 twists. And then once again, I'm going to keep it tight, grab my 9 inches, go to the next section. Some people do like to hot glue these little pipe cleaners in place. I'll tell you what, with the foil ones, there's just no point. Even when I use Gorilla Glue, for some reason they just, become loose again. So it doesn't matter. Don't forget, this is going to be such a full wreath. As far as the pipe cleaner color, for this particular wreath, I am going to be using a lot of layers on here. So you're not even gonna see a glimpse of this silver pipe cleaner. Here's another reason why I put my second row pipe cleaners on the inside and the other ones outside. As you're working along, you're just grabbing the ones from the inside. It's easy to find them, easy to see them, and that's just the way I do it. I made my last loop in row 2, and this one is coming on top of that first connection where I have my zip tie, and I'm just going to put it right on top, give it 2 tight twists. There you go. And now we're going to move on to the next row, to row 3, and in the next section, not in the same section that you began and started, moving on to the next section. And row 2 is super easy. You just keep on making loops one after another, filling in those pipe cleaners, and you know, they'll be moving around. We can move them around. It really doesn't matter. It's going to be so full in this second row, especially because our loops are tighter together. It's going to be just fine. So that is why I usually don't even hot glue them, because they kind of sit in their own place almost. But you definitely can if you want. I went all the way around, and here is the last pipe cleaner. I have 2 on here, and it is so full right here. Sometimes I do go over to this next section, but I don't need to. It's very full right here. So what I'm going to do is, before I cut it off, I'm going to grab another zip tie and zip tie it, and that's it. I mean, look how easy this was. Now the next step is to decide whether you want to fluff this out, leave it alone, or fluff this out later. I decided to fluff it now because I find that sometimes when you fluff it out later, you already have the ribbon on top. It's just a whole mess. So I'm going to give it 1 inch to 2 inches, cut it off right here. This section right here, because I don't want it to fray, what I do is grab a rubber band it together so it stays nice and tucked, and then I roll my Deco mesh up and put it away. I decided to fluff my Deco mesh out right now, so I'm just starting with one end and kind of pulling it very gently, obviously, very gently, and then go on to the next one and just open it up. It's going to become a lot softer, a lot prettier when you just open all those ruffled areas up, and then you're going to see how much thicker it is. It's going to cover basically all that background of your actual wreath form. And here you can see fluffed out and still not fluffed out. This is softer, just, I don't know, happier. And can you believe I'm making a spring wreath with this dark purple? That's right. You just gotta pull colors out of your colorful, whether it would be Deco mesh. So if I was using a colorful Deco mesh, I would pull out colors from the Deco mesh and either use solids, and I try to stick to one, I guess, like crazy print, unless the prints go together. Sometimes, you know, red, white, and black go together, and then just black and white, for example, go nicely together, that you can pair those. But when pairing, just make sure that the actual ribbons work together. As far as our ribbon, we're going to cut it into 12-inch strips to make it easier on myself. I grab a ruler. You can also have a little board that has the 12 inches, but I'm grabbing a 12-inch ruler, and I'm just going to start folding it over, and look at this. Exactly how much you need. Now, if you have ribbon that kind of is folded like this towards the end, no worries. We can hide these types of kind of, you know, wrinkly ribbon on the side of the wreaths on that second row where it's kind of hidden, because you want the prettiest ones to be on top. I'm going to remove this tape right here, then just pop out my ruler and cut my ribbon. This ribbon is quite thin, so what I'm going to do is just kind of line it up and then do my little dovetails just like this, and then same thing on this side. Now I'm going to do the same thing with my blue ribbon until I get 18 of each. Next, I'm going to grab decorative mesh, and this one's a lilac color. It's going to mix in nicely with all the purple and the purple of the actual wreath. And what we're going to do is we're going to cut it into 6-inch strips, which basically is going to make little squares, if I ever find where it starts. This decorative mesh is 3 yards. If we take those 3 yards, divide into the 6 inches, it's going to give us 18 of these squares, and that's perfect. That's all we need. Let's put these together. I'm going to grab one of each ribbon, crisscross it and face it my way, just like this. Now I'm going to grab a decorative mesh and I'm going to lay it down square in the middle because we're going to collect it right here in this crossing going from up and down. The purpose of this decorative mesh is it's going to bring out our little decor right here, and you'll see it's going to give a little bit of softness. So for the center of this, I decided to use these little foam eggs from the Dollar Tree. Let's bring this together. I'm just going to start at the bottom and just kind of bring it in the middle, just like this. And grabbing any one of our pipe cleaners here, going to just push our little ribbon right towards the back, do 2 twists, and either you're going to use a centerpiece that requires the wire, you can definitely do that. In my case, I'm going to hot glue the little eggs right in the center, so I'm going to send my pipe cleaner to the back. In the back, I'm going to give it 2 tight twists and fold it just like this, fold it over, and then fold it back into the wreath so it's nice and smooth here. Where we have our little ribbon right here, I'm going to grab a little one of these eggs, and you can pull out the little ribbon. If it's not pulling out, just cut it off. And then I'm just going to hot glue it sideways straight into our little bundle right here. And it's going to hold really good because we have our little decorative deco mesh right here and our beautiful ribbons on the sides. As I'm moving on to the next section, just remember to make sure that the right side is up, the beautiful side is facing up. I crisscrossed it, I put my decorative mesh on top, and now I'm bringing it together. Moving on to the next section. At this point, your wreath is probably going to look as crazy as mine does, but now I'm just going to start kind of poofing these out, kind of making little, I don't know, like half kind of circles like this. And I'm just going to grab the ones in the back and just keep on adjusting them, making them pretty, poofing them out, and go all the way around. Let's get started on the supplies for this wreath. First, you're going to need a cat on your table. Then you're going to need some pipe cleaners, 1 roll of deco mesh that is 10 inches by 10 yards, some sort of ribbon. This is a vintage ribbon. It's something that got thrifted, so it's nothing you can find, but just find ribbon that will work with your deco mesh. My deco mesh is ivory, has lots of gold, and that's why I'm going with this ribbon, because it has gold edging on it. Then I'm matching some florals to go with my ribbon. These are roses, or maybe they're tea roses, but I got them at the Dollar Tree. These are little rose or floral picks. I recommend using picks for this just because it's going to be easier to work with. So whatever craft store you can get a hold of or online, just use a pick that has some greenery in it. It's going to give you the complete picture. You just bring your florals together at the end, and it's a lot easier than bringing flowers together. And then if I feel like I need to brighten things up, I got some ivory white florals that I can mix in if I need to. And then of course we're going to need a cross wreath form. This is the one that's from the Dollar Tree. You can cut either in half or 1/3. I'm going to cut into 1/3, and that's going to come pretty close to what I'm going to need, but I just don't like dealing with tails if I don't have to, so that's why I'm just cutting it into 4-inch strips. As always, when I cut my pipe cleaners, I go down the middle and make a little V, just like that. It's easier to grab. You always know where your center is, and it's just easier to work with. Now for our gorgeous, gorgeous deco mesh. Look at all that gold. I'm going to be cutting it into 10-inch strips. This deco mesh is 10 yards, as I said. 10 yards is 360 inches. You divide the 360 into the 10 inches because that's how long our little strips are, and you're going to get 36 pieces, which means we're going to work with 36 petals. That's going to be more than enough for our cross wreath. And now I'm just going to go ahead and cut the rest of the Deco mesh roll. Now that our Deco mesh is cut up, we're going to make petals. It's just a 10 by 10 strip. We're going to bring them together, cut edge to cut edge, and then we're going to gather about inch and a half on the edging, just like that. And we're going to make this a 0 fray wreath. We have our petal, and as you can see, because the design of it, the gold in the middle, it's just going to make it so much more prettier. So after I do that, I grab my pipe cleaner and I'm just going to give it 2 tight twists. And we have our petal. If you have any fraying going on, just cut that off. That's just going to get buried in the back of the wreath anyway, and you have a petal. Let's do another one. Just bring it together, cut edge to cut edge, gather it. About an inch and a half. Grab our pipe cleaner. 2 tight twists, cut off any fraying, and that's it. You have a little petal. And as you can see, these pipe cleaners, when they're folded like this, you just boomerang them straight onto your little petal. And it's easy, just give it 2 twists in the back. And look at this, just a little preview for you guys. We're going to line them up just like this. And this is going to be such a gorgeous cross wreath. My petals are all done. Let me put them to the side. Let's talk about the wreath form. We're going to divide the wreath form into 6 sections. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 36 petals. 6 times 6 is 36. So in each section, we're going to put 6 petals. I like to always work outside in. So I'm going to take my petal and with my pipe cleaner, I'm going to attach it to the 2 middle rows. And because I made them so short, it's going to be just enough to bring the pipe cleaners together. First petal is attached. I'm going to bring it down just a little bit. Every time I'm putting the next one on, I'm basically putting it on top of the tail. So I'm just wrapping my pipe cleaner around, and we're going to keep it nice and neat in the back. We have 3 so far. This is going to be beautiful. Don't you like it, Leo? Leo loves it, right, baby? I'm done with the 3 sections on top. Look how gorgeous. And now I'm going to start working from the bottom towards the center. So I'm just going to flip it and start attaching my petals. And I do like attaching from the back and just twist, twist, twist. And my last little petal going in. Now it's time to start decorating it. You can either decorate it where you have kind of a symmetrical look, meaning you have 4 things sticking out like on the corners here. So maybe like 4 flowers and something in the middle, or a symmetric bow, or you can do something asymmetric, which is what I'm going to do. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make 1 loop bows. So I'm going to eye a loop and just kind of see where you want it, see how big you want it. And also before you cut it off, bring in your flowers. See how they're going to look. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make 3 loops like this. I'm going to measure them off, cut it to the length that you feel is nice. I did want to mention that this ribbon is 2 5/8 inches, so almost 3 inches. As you see, I zigzagged to make 3 strips of the original length that I measured, and I'm just going to cut dovetails on both sides. Now for a bow, I'm actually going to be attaching these bows separately, meaning I'm going to have 3 separate single loop bows. So I'm just going to fold it in half, and then in half again. I'll find my center, grab a floral wire or a pipe cleaner, and I think half is going to be more than enough because we're just going to attach it to the back And the reason I'm doing this is you can move it around and manipulate it a little bit easier when they're separate, especially if you have thick ribbon like this one is, just like that. And then I'm going to attach. I'm attaching the bow to one of the 4 intersections on rows 2 and 3, or the middle 2 rows. As you can see, the 6-inch pipe cleaner is just enough. So I'm going to twist, fold, and fold back. Going to make another one. Same thing, find my center, fold it in half, find a center there, grab a pipe cleaner. And before I make it tight, I'm going to twist the tail, tighten it up. And this one, I want the tails to go the opposite way. And I'm actually going to try to sneak it in between these tails. My ribbon is on. Now it's time to attach our flowers. We have to decide how many we want. Maybe let's see what it looks like with 3. Oh, I think it just gives it a beautiful fullness. I think it'll be nice. So first things first, let's remove the tags. And as I said in the beginning, it is so much easier to work with a little floral pick. So just grab some picks from your local craft store and you could work with those. I'm using a zip tie to bring these together, and I'm going to show you what I did. I put 2 of my little florals facing one way because you can tell I have the little buds right there, and then 1 facing the other way, and in the middle I'm just going to move all the greenery to the side because I almost want to make this big flower in the center. Now I'm going to add more of the white florals, and I'm going to zip tie it again. The white florals are going to make a big difference. Another zip tie. Can you do this with floral wire? Absolutely. It's just not going to hold as well as a zip tie. With a zip tie, it is just in place. Look at this. It's going nowhere. So after I zip tied it tight, cut off the tail. Because we're working with Dollar Tree flowers, I took the big ones off and I'm going to hot glue them in place because I just don't trust that they will stay in place. So a little bit of hot glue and place the buds back on the little stems. And as I said, I'm going to do that to all of them. The little flower buds, just a little bit of hot glue to make sure they stay in place. And don't forget to hot glue the white little florals too. I want to make sure everything is secure. I'm so sorry, I just realized the camera wasn't on. But all I did was grab the pipe cleaner, wrapped it around the base right here where my zip ties are, and fed it through to the back and tied it in the back. Our floral is absolutely stunning, and it just works really nicely with the whole look of the cross wreath. I think it's going to be an absolutely beautiful wreath. Now I'm going to flip it back so we can talk about the hanging loop. You can use a jute cord, you can use a wire, whatever you want. I'm just going to grab a long piece of this wire. It's the 22 gauge wire. I got this at Michael's. It's quite soft, so that's why I'm grabbing a long piece because I'm going to fold it in half. To hang this wreath, all I'm going to do is wrap my floral wire around the bottom of this crisscross section on the 2 middle rows. And all I'm going to do here is I'm going to twist. I'm going to make a big loop, as you can tell. I'm going to twist, cut off the excess, and then I'm going to twist it around itself. And this part is going to get hidden in the back. You can twist it right here to kind of lock it in place. And there's my hanging loop. Since we have our loop at the bottom, it's going to be easy to cover the wreath. So you're going to cover the wreath either with some felt strip, or you can use a piece of ribbon and do it this way. But the one that's going from top to bottom, what you want to do is cover this piece, then you're going to have your hanging loop, and then cover this piece right here. I'm not going to cover the back because I actually made this wreath for myself, but you can definitely just strip right here, and a long strip right here. Now some last minute nips and tucks, and this cross wreath is ready to hang for your Easter decor. Let's go over the supplies for this wreath. I'm going to be using a 14-inch wreath form from the Dollar Tree, a roll of 10-inch deco mesh, that's 10 yards, some ribbon to make ribbon bundles. This is optional, but you can get some sort of a floral to put in the center of your ribbon bundles. I'm going to be using these yellow ranunculus. We're going to need pipe cleaners, and of course you're going to need a sign. I got this one at the Dollar Tree. This chick is ready for Easter. How adorable is this? I'm going to start by preparing my pipe cleaners. I'm using a standard 12-inch pipe cleaner, and I'm going to cut it into 4-inch strips. After I do that, I'm going to do the little V like I usually do. This is just to make it easier for me. There's no really other function than I can grab this and put it straight onto what I need. I got my 10-inch deco mesh by 10 yards. I also have a little laundry basket to the side of my table because as I'm making these little poofs, I'm going to just drop them down. For this wreath, we are going to need 30 10-inch loops. Let's start by bringing our deco mesh together. And see what I mean? It's just a quick little attachment. 2 twists. Another thing to consider when you're making your twist, because our deco mesh is being rolled onto the table. When I measure my 10 inches off, I grab my pipe cleaner and I go down so I can twist it together at the bottom on this side. This way my pipe cleaner gets attached straight onto my wreath form and it's already set up. It's up the right way and we're ready to roll. So same thing, I'm going to continue and just make 10-inch loops. As you saw, I brought my pipe cleaner straight on top. Going to just flatten everything out, 2 twists, and then off I go. I will be doing this until I get 30 poofs. When you are done, you're going to have something like this. So find your beginning and let's start attaching. Attaching to a wreath form is going to be absolutely easy. We have 4 metal rows in this wreath form, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on what I call an intersection, where this row meets the bar that goes across. Starting on an intersection, I'm going to go to every intersection on the inside row. Second row is going to be in between the intersections, all the way around until I go back to where I started. Then on the third row, we're back to the intersections, all the way around, just attaching to every intersection. In the fourth row, we're going to actually do 2 poofs per section. So we're going to do intersection in the middle, intersection in the middle, intersection in the middle, going all the way around. Starting on my first intersection, I'm going to first twist it in place and just fold and fold back. Now I'm grabbing a zip tie and I'm going to zip tie that tail in place. I do this in the beginning and at the end. I'm just going to go on every intersection and attach my pipe cleaner. You can work upside down. A lot of times when I'm just attaching pipe cleaner, pipe cleaner, pipe cleaner, like in this case, I like to work from the back because that's where you're going to see what you're doing, and it's just easier this way. Now I'm attaching my last poof on that first row, and as you can see, I'm attaching it where we started. So we have a complete row of deco mesh. Now I'm just moving on, and in the second row, I'm going to attach pipe cleaners in the middle. You can definitely hot glue it in place if you are worried about it moving here and there. But when all the deco mesh is on, I don't find that to be a problem because everything gets layered and it just holds in place. So I'm not worried about that. I completed row 2 and now moving to row 3. And here I'm going to go on an intersection once again, going all the way around. My third row is done. I'm moving on to row 4 and I'm going to have 2 poofs in each section. So there's going to be just 1 in the middle, 1 on an intersection, and I'm going to go all the way around. I'm on my last poof and I'm going to attach it right on top of where we started the last row. And the tail, I'm going to zip tie that in place, push the tail back so it's out of the way. Here is the wreath from the back, and here is the wreath from the front. one roll of Deco mesh. You have got to love that. I'm going to have my sign in the middle and make 4 beautiful poofs on the side. A few of you asked me to use these little either zip tie mounds or cable clips. They're called a few names. And I got some on Amazon and I thought, you know what? Let's do this. Going to attach them at 4 places. So obviously we're going to need 4 pipe cleaners. Take the sticker off, give it a little bit of hot glue, and attach where I want it attached. Now I'm grabbing some crazy glue, super glue, whatever you have on hand. I'm grabbing the Gorilla one I have. And I'm going to go around the clip with the super glue. This is just going to give it a little bit more stability so I don't have to worry about it. Let this dry while we do the ribbon bundles. I'm just going to make a little freehand bow using the 1.5 inch ribbon from Costco, and this one is wired. Wiggle it together with a little zip tie. And before I tighten it, of course, that's when I'm going to adjust to make sure that is how I want everything. That looks good. I'm going to move this part to the back. And I'm just going to cut on an angle. And this is the bow that's going to go on the front of the sign. How cute is this? Just like that. Then grabbing one of these berries or a vase filler. I'm going to use that as the center for my little bow. Cut that in half. A little bit of hot glue. Put that straight in the center. How adorable is this? I am loving my little bow. And now we're going to start cutting for our ribbon bundles. I'm going to be cutting 8 of the white ribbon at 12 inches each. As usual, I'm zigzagging my ribbon and I'm just making dovetails as I'm cutting my ribbon. I feel so productive when I do this because I feel like I'm doing 2 steps in one. The pink one, I'm going to do same thing. I want 8 of these and I want them at 12 inches each. The sparkly ribbon, I cut at 12 inches and I only cut 4 of them because I just need to add a little bit of sparkle. I don't want too much. Grabbing 4 more pipe cleaners, I'm ready to make my bundles. I'm going to crisscross the 2.5 inch pink one, then 2 more of the white, and just 1 of this pretty sparkle on top. Wiggle it together, and I'm just going to use a pipe cleaner to bring it together. So my 2 pinks, 2 whites, and a little bit of glam in the middle. Even this out, bring it together. Ooh, these are so pretty. I'm just putting my pipe cleaner through these, finding my center and giving it 2 twists so it stays in place. And then we're just going to attach to our wreath. As always, I like to bring these to the center, flip it straight onto my wreath form, center where I want it to be. As usual, I like to attach on intersections. I always attach my signs lightly, just 2 twists, and that's it. And then at the end, when the wreath is done, I like where my sign is. I go back and just tie these in a little better. Now I can see if I want it a little lower or a little higher. In this case, I actually do want it a little lower. So let me go back and just loosen these up a little bit. And this is why I don't attach really tightly. I like the way that sits. Now we're going to grab our little bundles. These are going to be so cute. First, I'm just going to lay them out how I want them. And then we're going to attach. I'm attaching to rows 2 and 3 just so it's nice and stable in the back. And there's my first bundle. I'm going to go on the opposite side and attach. Now I'm going to open up my bundles. Making these little ribbon bundles, I think, is my favorite part. I absolutely love it. And as I always say, open these like a little flower. And I just did pink, white, and these glittery ones in the center. Now I'm going to grab my ranunculus. I'm going to hot glue the connection right here to make sure that it's secure. And then I'm going to make my way down. I'm going to hot glue the flower straight in the middle of my bundle. And that's going to bring that little chick out a little bit more because of the yellow. If you need to cover the back, you can do that with some fabric or a placemat, and we are all done with this wreath. let's go over the supplies we're going to need for this wreath. I'm starting with 21-inch Deco mesh. That's by 10 yards. You're only going to need 5 yards, so a 10-yard roll should be enough for 2 wreaths. Then I'm going to make some curls. I have this gold Deco mesh roll left over, and I'm going to see how many curls I can get out of this one. Some pink curls, because that's just going to look so nice with the gold matching the lettering on the sign and the pink being an accent throughout the whole sign. Then I'm going to need some flowers. I love using ranunculus from the Dollar Tree, so I have some lilac ones. For ribbon, I'm keeping it really simple. I'm using 1.5-inch wired edge ribbon that I get at Costco. The sign is quite large. It's actually 12 inches in diameter. It is metal, but you can obviously use whatever sign you have on hand. Then we're going to need some pipe cleaners. These are 12 inches in length, some zip ties, and of course, a metal wreath form. I'm going to be using the 14-inch metal wreath form from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to do the standard 18 pipe cleaners for this wreath. We have 6 sections on this wreath form. What we're going to do is just break it down. We're going to work section at a time. So if you look at one section only, we're going to put a pipe cleaner on row 1 and 2. I always count from the inside, and I'm just going to give my pipe cleaner 2 twists, and then I'm going to fold the pipe cleaner towards the inside. Then I'm going to take the other 2 rows I have, rows 3 and 4. As you can see, I put these pipe cleaners facing out, and they're to the sides of this first one. So if we're looking at it like this, we have 3 pipe cleaners. That's it. It's that simple. We're going to repeat the same process going all the way around, and just think of it one section at a time. All 18 pipe cleaners are on. I have 6 on the inside and 12 on the outside. Before we attach the Deco mesh, I want to show you how we're actually going to do this. Starting from one of the inside pipe cleaners, we're going to do 10-inch loops going all the way around until we come back where we started. Then we're going to go absolutely flat to this next pipe cleaner, and then here, that's when I'm going to continue making 10-inch loops going all the way around, and we're going to finish where we started the second row. First things first, I'm going to go about 2 inches in and collect my tail. When I come in with my tail, give my pipe cleaner 2 twists. I'm going to go on row 2 and zip tie that tail in place. About 1 inch from the actual connection. It's straightened out, nice and smooth, and is not going to be in our way. Just cutting off that tail. And now I'm ready to make my 10-inch loops. My 10 inches is this light square right here. My Deco mesh is being rolled onto the table. So I already have my poof going on. And when I do my poofs, I start right there with this pipe cleaner, go to 10 inches and attach. 2 twists, next 10 inches, and off I go. I am making my last loop. Here's the tail, here's the pipe cleaner that I started with, and now I'm going to go to the closest pipe cleaner, and I'm going to go flat, absolutely flat from my first row to my second row. A nice tight twist or 2, and back to 10 inches, going all the way around. I'm on my last loop, going right on top. Here's where we started on that second row. And I'm going to go kind of towards the inside because I do eventually want to hide the tail on the inside. So let me do my 2 twists. Then I'm going to cut off about 2 to 3 inches. Grabbing another zip tie. I'm going to zip tie it to row 3. It's best to see it from the back. After it's nice and secured, I'm going to just clip that off. At this point, you might want to open up all your loops, especially with 21-inch Deco mesh. It could get layered. The wreath is all poofed out. Now it's time to work on the curls. Starting with my gold Deco mesh, I'm going to be doing 10-inch strips. I'm done cutting up my gold deco mesh and I only have 16 pieces. We need 18. So if you are caught in a situation like that and you know that's possible, what I decided to do is on the outside row, I'm going to put one in each one, and on the inside row we have 6 pipe cleaners. I'm going to do every other, and on the one where there's going to be no gold, I'm going to put 2 pinks. My pink roll of deco mesh, I'm going to be cutting up into 10-inch strips just like these, and I'm going to do 21 strips to double up on the pipe cleaners where we're not going to have the gold ones. As I was about to start cutting my pink deco mesh, my supervisor came to make sure I was doing everything correctly. And Leo, I need you to move just a little bit so I don't hurt you. And here we go with the 10-inch strips. Next, I'm grabbing the ribbon and I'm going to be cutting my ribbon into 11-inch strips. I think 11 will be just perfect. I think 12 will be a little too long, 10 too short, 11 will be just right. And as usual, I'm going to zigzag my ribbon. It's 36, so you can do it in bunches. Let's just cut this off so I'll show you how I do it. Then fold the corners in half, cut a little triangle, making sure to cut the edges, and bam, you just cut the ribbon and made dovetails. And I'm going to be doing this until I get 36 pieces. Now let's do both our curl and our ribbon bundles at the same time. I got a big clip. You can grab a clothespin, paper clip, whatever you have on hand, and let's go for it. I'm going to first start rolling the gold one, and I'm going to roll it in just a little tighter, about 1 inch in width, and let's clip that. Then a pink one. I'm going to crisscross that. Then I'm going to crisscross 2 pieces of ribbon, squeeze everything together, and I'm going to attach it to one of the pipe cleaners on the inner row. Since we don't have enough of the gold ones, I'm going to put 2 pink ones in the next one. Pink number 1, pink number 2, crisscross, then 2 pieces of ribbon, and that's going to go on the next one. And then I'm going to do pink and gold, pink, pink, pink and gold, pink, pink. I'm done putting all the bundles on the inner row, and now I'm going to go ahead and just twist the remaining pipe cleaner, and you can either cut it off or just fold it in half and back. In the outside row, all my bundles are going to be 1 gold curl, 1 pink curl, and 2 of the white pieces of ribbon. And as I'm putting in the second row, you will see the purple slowly fading away. You'll still see some of it, but it's going to start fading away. And then the beauty of the pinks and the golds and the flowers that we're going to put in the center are going to take over along with our centerpiece. All the bundles are on. How beautiful. Next, I'm going to do the centerpiece, and all I'm going to do here is grab some white floral wire, cutting off about 12 to 14 inch pieces, just 2 of them because we have 2 connections, and I'm just going to put it through, and I'm going to make sure that I twist in the back, and I'm going to do the same thing with this one. And I'm going to bring the wires in, and let's attach in the back. Since we only have 2 places where we're attaching, I'm going to attach on an intersection on top between rows 1 and 2. Twist, and I'm going to do this lightly until I know the sign is in the correct place. And here's the second side. I think it's on really nicely. It's in a good spot. I'm going to flip back, twist a few more times, and then just twist them around the actual wreath form. If you are covering the back, you can do a few options. I am going to use a little placemat from the Dollar Tree. I know it's green, but it's gonna get covered really nicely. And I'm going to grab 3 zip ties, and I'm going to attach in 3 places. Of course, after zip tying it, make sure that the little tip goes behind, just like that. Then I'm going to eye a triangle, and that is where I'm going to go with the next zip tie. Grabbing a jute cord, I'm going to put it between rows 2 and 3. Then I'm going to tie a few knots, and that's it. I'm going to hide that knot in the back, and we're all done. Out of any excess, and we have a hanging loop. Now that we're done flipping this wreath back and forth, this is the time to pretty things up and to finish up. Grabbing the ranunculus, I'm going to take 12 of them and I'm going to start hot gluing them to the outside pipe cleaners. Most important thing is to attach stem together with this greenery. Then give it just a good dollop of hot glue. Go to the center and just put it in the center just like that. Then later on, we're going to just open everything up and these flowers are going to show up here and there looking so beautiful. Overall, I think all the colors work together really nicely, and even with the very purple background, it brought this rose out a little bit. Then the lilac florals brought out some more of these pinks and lilacs and all of that, and I just think it works so nicely together. Very pretty and eye-catching, and Leo approved. For today's wreath, I'm going to be using this gorgeous Easter deco mesh from Hobby Lobby. Originally $11.99, with 40% off, it comes down to $7.19. Since you can make 2 of the wreaths I'm making today with this one roll, it comes down to $3.60 for this wreath for deco mesh. The wreath form we're going to be using is the Dollar Tree 14-inch metal wreath form, and you're going to need 12 pipe cleaners. For this wreath, you're going to need 6 strips that are 30 inches long, so they're going to be 21 by 30 inches long. I'm going to be using my regular mat, and as you can see, I put it vertically. I'm going to move it to the side, and I'm going to add a 12-inch ruler. Counting for this 1/2 inch underneath here, I'm going to just move the ruler to where it says 1 centimeter here, and that'll give me the exact amount for 30 inches. I decided to use this silver color because the deco mesh has a lot of silver in it. Now for the pipe cleaners, I'm just going to put one between the first and the second row, give it 2 twists, and I'm going to fold it inside. And then one between the 3rd and 4th row, 2 twists, and fold it to the outside. And I'm going to go ahead and do that all around. So you're going to have 6 on the inside and 6 on the outside. The way we're going to be attaching our Poof ruffles are like this. Inside to the next section outside. Inside, outside, inside, outside, and so on. Here we go. You can start on either side. I like to start on this side, and you want about 1/4 in, so that'll make it about 5 inches. And I like using striped deco mesh for this because you can actually see where you're going. So with this one, I'm basically going to be going right here between the pink and the green, and I'm going to just gather. And if you face your actual strip down, then the endings are going to curl in right there. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to pinch this ruffle using whatever you have, but I'm just going to pinch it like this. And then I'm going to move on to the second side. And same thing, we're going to go 5 inches in. And in my case, between the pink and the green, and off we go. So it's kind of like ruffle, poof, and then ruffle method. Now that I gathered, I want to make sure my endings are kind of curling in, and you've got this candy looking thing right here. So if I'm going to start on the inside, there you go. Going to make 2 tight twists, 1, 2. Then I'm going to take this end, and I'm going to go to the next section on the outside, and 2 twists, 1, 2. I'm going to open this up a little bit. Now the next poof, same thing. And the end, let's just make sure that it curls down on both sides. Inside, outside, and then we're going to go on the inside right here. And then outside right here. And I'm just going to continue going inside, outside, all the way around. And I'm about to do the last loop right here. And then in the back, I'm just grabbing the pipe cleaners and making sure they're just nice and secure. 2 more twists, folding them in half and then half again, and then just pushing the pipe cleaners back, and you have a nice smooth backing. I'm just going to go around and poof everything out. Now that my wreath base is done, you can add on decoration. I'm going to probably, I don't know, I was thinking I can do this. This is super cute. This chick is ready for Easter. Or maybe this hop. The reason I don't like the hop is because you would have to give a little bit of white on the outside. It blends in a little bit when you have it against a wreath. Maybe not on camera, but in reality kind of does. And I thought this bunny would be super cute. So let's do the bunny. First things first, I'm going to remove the little twine here. And then you have these holes to take care of. I'm grabbing some lightweight spackling from the Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to put it on my finger and then set it back there. When I do the spackling, I make sure to overdo it just a little bit, because as it will dry, it will actually sink into the holes. So I just give it a little bit more on top. And I'm going to let this dry. Our spackling is dry, so I'm just grabbing some sandpaper and sanding it down. You could probably leave it at that, but I decided to brighten the bunny up just a little bit, and I'm going to dry brush some chalk paint. And here I'm using Rust-Oleum chalk paint, and that's in linen white. I just got some paint basically off the lid, and I'm just going to put it straight on the napkin and then dry brush the bunny. The bunny is so cute, but I think if we give it a big old bow right here, it's going to get even cuter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this basically just as a holder while I'm putting my bow together. I'm going to grab a pipe cleaner, just throw it on here. And by the way, the bow maker is always in my description box and also in my Amazon shop. For the bow, I'm going to be using this gorgeous grosgrain ribbon. It's light pink with dark pink and green little polka dots. Then I'm going to grab this white grosgrain from the Dollar Tree. And then I have this ribbon right here, which is a dark pink to match the dark pink little polka dot. And that's going to go on top. Starting with our little tail, I'm going to put it inside right here with the tail facing up. So then here we're going to give it a twist before we make our little bow. And I think that's a good size for the bow. And it looks like I'm almost at 3 inches. I'm going to give it a twist. And then bring it down here. Another twist. I'm going to make 4-loop bow. Another twist for the final loop. There you go. On top of that, I'm going to go in with my white grosgrain ribbon. And I'm going to go a little bit smaller. Here I don't have to twist because this ribbon doubles the same on both sides. So I'm just layering this in. It's cute already, isn't it? And now with this tiny ribbon, it's not going to hold on there. So I'm just going to measure my tail, give it 4 loops. I'm going to hold it really tight here as I bring this one up, add it right on top. I'm going to bring it in really tight and give it 2 twists. To cover the center of my bow, I'm going to grab a piece of the white ribbon and I'm going to just tie a knot. And I'm going to cover that with the knot right on top, just like this. It's going to give it a little bit of a character and it looks beautiful. I'm just hot gluing it in place. A little bit more hot glue right here. And cut off the excess tail here. And look how gorgeous this bow is. I'm going to use the pipe cleaner to go right here on the neckline, and I'm going to tie it in the back. I'm going to do 2 more attachments. A little hot glue right here, pipe cleaner right on top for extra security, and so it holds a little better. I'm going to use this leftover piece of ribbon and I'm just going to put it right over. And you could use anything. I call this the old-fashioned method. I used to do this when I started crafting a long time ago. And, you know, you could use fabric, you could use felt, you can use ribbon, really any type of fabric for this. And it's going to hold a lot better than if you just put the pipe cleaners in place as is. And I'm going to put another one at the bottom here. I am going to give it a little bit of hot glue in the back here. And there you go, the bow is all ready, and all I have left is to cut the little tails, and I'm just going to cut them on an angle on both sides, and then we're going to attach the bunny to the wreath. And I'm going to attach the bunny in the center. Just going to send the pipe cleaners through the center and attach them at the top and the bottom of the wreath. And of course, you can do this any holiday. You can put a big old flower in there, whatever the theme is. At the end of the day, this wreath cost me around $6 to make. I had the ribbon on hand. Say with ribbon here and there, it's going to cost you $8 or so. But look at this full wreath for that amount of money. Cross wreath, I'm going to start with 6 rolls of white Deco mesh rolls from the Dollar Tree, then some white chenille stems, and of course we're going to need the wreath form. This wreath form originally comes in a green color, and I do like to give it a coat of white paint just once when I'm working with so much white, because you don't want that to stand out. This is just an option if you want to do this, but you can definitely just give it a spray paint of white paint. Any paint, acrylic spray paint will do. And I do like to usually use paint and primer and then cover it with some sort of an acrylic coating. I like using this UV resistant one. This one's glossy, there's also matte, really doesn't matter, but you do want to seal it because the paint is going on metal and it'll chip really easy if you don't give it a coat of acrylic coating. When choosing the type of method you want to use to cover the actual cross, there's a few methods that I would use personally. The first one is the bubble method, where you just make the bubbles, keep on going. The second one I would use is the Woodland method, and here's why. The Woodland method is nice and fluffy, and it's going to work with all the 3D dimensions in this wreath. As you can tell, my hand can fit through the layer right here. So you're dealing with a 3D wreath here, and that is why I do recommend the Woodland method, because it's fluffy, it's full, and it's going to end up absolutely beautiful at the end of the day. First things first, I'm going to grab my pipe cleaners, and I like to cut these in 4-inch strips. After that, I like to fold them in half in a little V. It's just going to make our life a little easier as we work. And for those who don't know, this is my little supervisor. His name is Leo. And if he's not on the table, he's somewhere around me by my legs, sleeping or something. He's a very sweet kitty, right, Leo? I also like to remind all of you that when you see Deco mesh that has beautiful edging like this, grab it and run, because it's not always like that. The Dollar Tree Deco mesh is 6 inches by 5 yards. I rolled out my roll here, and we're going to start cutting the Deco mesh into 22-inch strips. I am on my last strip here, and at 22 inches right here, I have this section left over, which is almost 6 inches. And guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to very carefully remove this tape and use it all. You're not making bows, you're making ruffles. This is just going to add to your ruffles. So no big deal. Don't waste anything. You know, I'm just going to cut off this edge right here because it's a little rough, but I just added on 5 inches of ruffles. To make my woodland ruffles, I like using these little clips to help me. You can also use clothespins. Those will work just fine. Grabbing my first strip, I'm going to make 2 to 3 rolls at the end of our strip, and you want to make them 1 inch or shorter, because the shorter you make them, the tighter the little loop is going to be. That's what's keeping all that fraying hidden. So 2 or 3 times here. Then I'm going to clip. And I'm going to grab my rotary cutter. You can grab anything you want. Put it on top so it like weighs it down. Stretch it out. And then we're going to work on the other side. Same thing, 2 to 3 loops. Keep them under 1 inch. And then after that, we're just going to put 2 thumbs right here in the middle. And we're going to walk it in. And if it's not straight, if it's going to the side, oh, that's just going to make the ruffles nice and pretty. Take our weight out, bring it together. Now this is our back side because that's where we were rolling it in. Take this out, and then we're going to grab a pipe cleaner and we're going to put it on this side, coming from this side, so that your knot, or your, you know, where we're locking it in, is going to be in the back. Before I lock it in, make sure that it's straight, and because it kind of tends to be thick right here on the side, because we brought it in like an accordion, I just kind of like to push it back. Now I'm going to do my 2 twists. And there you go. You have a little ruffle. And instead of just being flat, it kind of pops up. And it gives you volume when you do that. Nice and pretty. Let's do another one together. I have another strip right here. 1, 2. This one, let's do one more. 3. Turn it around, put a little weight on it, go to the other side. 1, 2, 3. And as you can see, there is an inch. My inch ends right here, and my little roll is a little less than an inch. And then 2 thumbs in the middle, and we're walking it. Take our clip off, bring it together, and as you can see, it's kind of wide here. So we're going to go to the smooth side. That's where we're coming in with our pipe cleaner. Then I'm just going to hold it right here, and then here I'm going to squeeze. There you go. And as you saw, when you squeezed, it kind of moved up. You see what I mean? It's not flat from the side. It kind of goes in a little V right here. And that's what's going to give it like a beautiful little pop. And I think it just makes for a beautiful, beautiful ruffle. And so now the fun begins. This is where you turn on something, music or TV, or I don't know, maybe DIY with Nadia, and just start making these ruffles while you're enjoying something. And it just, this is what making wreaths are all about. It's about having fun, just sitting there and making gorgeous, gorgeous wreaths. And as you can see, this is not that bad. It's not that hard. There you go. We're going to go to the other side. It's beautiful. It's simple. Another gorgeous one. And you definitely, definitely can do this. I have 6 rolls of Deco mesh ruffles all made up, and they are so darn adorable. Now I'm grabbing my cross, and I'm going to use the 2 raised rows right here in the middle. And there's row 2 and 3. And I'm going to go in a zigzag pattern. So here we go. I'm going to give it 2 twists. Then I'm going to fold this little part and fold back. Here we go. The length of the cross is done, and look how big this is. Now for the number of ruffles per section. We have 8, 8, 8 at the bottom. Then this section is longer than these 3 sections separately. So on top I have 12, which means a roll and a half, because each roll we have 8 sections. So that means on the sides right here, we're going to have 6 and 6. And now for the florals, I'm going to be using 2 bushels of this Tweedia, and then fill in a little bit with this agapanthus. And I'm not sure how much I'm going to use of this, but I just wanted to kind of to just give it a little bit more of a purple shade with these. And then I'm going to be using these lilies. And then in between the lilies and these purple flowers, I'm going to be using some lilac ribbon from the Dollar Tree. Because the wreath is so full already, we're going to have to sneak the ribbon in to make it look like a bow. So you'll see what I'm going to do with that. But for now, we're going to start with the purple flowers. To bring our florals together, I'm going to use a white floral wire. I got this one at Michael's on the after Christmas sale. Move the greenery up a little bit. For the flowers going down, I want to make it look really long. So I cut 3 down. Then I'm going to take 2 of these flowers off. And the wire right here, I'm going to cut it down about, let's do 2 inches to start with. Because these flowers, they have this little cap. And by the way, just throw some hot glue on there if you feel like it's loose. And so now you have it cascading already. Now I'm just going to lay everything out. On top, I'm going to put 1 going towards the top. And then cascade the other 2 down. Greenery could go up a little bit and behind the flower, so it's out of the way. And as you can see right here, I did not cut off that stem because it's going to be our base. Do you see it cascading? 2 more on the sides right here. Now I'm going to grab my agapanthus and just fill that in the middle. Just give it a little pop of purple right in the middle of every section. I'm going to bring this together in sections. So first I'm doing the crossbar right here, using floral wire to bring it together. And I'm just going to leave it at that. Make sure it's nice and tight. And then we want to recenter all of this, and you want a little bit of the white to show on the edges, so make sure to move it down. I just decided to add another one of these here to fill this section in. Bring this section together. This section I'm going to attach to the actual wreath form. I got my wire right here on one of the stems. Twist it, bring it around, and then this one going this way. And then we're going to actually attach it to the wreath form. And this is not going to go anywhere because we have it looped on this middle branch and then to the whole piece. So even right now, going nowhere. Okay, now I'm going to crisscross these 2. Grabbing another piece of wire, going to just secure it to the actual wreath form right here. Push it back and down. I'm going to give 2 twists. And when you have it where it's kind of like this, I always like to wrap it around a little intersection in the wreath so it locks it in. Now for the ribbon, I'm going to make little loops. And I just cut this into a 13-inch strip, which is going to make it a 6-inch loop because I'm going to take 1 inch away at the bottom right here. Bring it together. You can use whatever you want to tie it in place. I'm just going to continue using the same floral wire. If you're worried about the ribbon sliding off, just make sure the tails are facing up. It has wire edging. It's going to lock it in place here. My loops are going to go on each side right here. The reason I made picks instead of just making, you know, big bow loops and just putting them across this way and this way is because of the lilies. Lilies are quite deep right here. So if they were on top, they would stand out so much, and this wreath already has a ton of volume. So my goal here is to basically put these loops right here. We're going to just set those down. And then the lilies can go in between, and they can go down actually and fill in that space. And it's going to be so pretty. Easiest way to insert something when it's so busy, make a hole right here in the center. And from each end, I'm just going to feed my little loops through. And of course, my 4th one is going to go from here. One by one, I'm going to start attaching them on the crossings right here. I have my beautiful ribbon all set. And now I'm going to grab 3 of these lilies. And I'm just going to hot glue them. Just put them around the corners right here. And the lilac ribbon is kind of nice to break off that really bright white and the white of the lilies. I decided to add 2 more lilies. I'm going to put 1 on this corner too, and 1 in the center. let's go over the supplies we're going to need. We are going to need pipe cleaners. We're going to need 18 for the wreath form and 2 to 3 for the centerpiece. For the deco mesh, I'm going to be using this deco mesh. This is how much I have left. I already made a wreath with it. And I do want to mention something. When you're dealing with a multicolor deco mesh like this, it looks pretty on the roll, but when you start working with it, it kind of blends in. The colors blend in because, as you can see, it's sheer. It's deco mesh. Even though it's foiled, it's still going to blend in. So when you're in a situation like this, you need to bring out the colors. And the best way to do that is to bring in some white. And that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to grab a roll of 10-inch white deco mesh, and we're going to make some curls out of this so we can bring some of this color out. And then we're going to add some ribbon. I'm going to be using this ribbon that is from Hobby Lobby, and it's 1.5 inches by 10 yards. As you can see, it will work together with the deco mesh. It does have the colors that we need in there. And then the sign that I'm going to use is this little Happy Easter truck from the Dollar Tree. When I'm done with the wreath, you're going to see the importance of the white, because all these colors are nice, but you need to solidify your wreath. You need something that will just carry the story of the wreath, and the white will always do that. It'll brighten it, it'll make it look nice. And we do have a little bunny behind right here that's white, so it's going to work together really nicely. Next, I have some egg picks. I want to use these eggs to put in the middle of our ribbon bundles. The wreath form I have is a metal Dollar Tree wreath form that is 14 inches in diameter. I'm going to start by putting our pipe cleaners on. And if you are new to my channel, we are going to go through this really quickly and simply. This wreath form is divided into 6 sections, and we're going to break it down to a section at a time. I'm going to grab 3 pipe cleaners. In each section, you're going to put a pipe cleaner on row 1 and 2, right in the center of the section. I'm going to do 2 twists, and I'm going to face this pipe cleaner towards the inside. This part is important later on. Then I'm going to put 2 more pipe cleaners on the sides of this center one, and I'm going to attach them to row 3 and 4 and face the tail out. Here is my second one. 2 twists and tail out. Not bad, right? Pretty simple. In each section, we're going to have a pipe cleaner on row 1 and 2 and on row 3 and 4 on the sides of this center one. That's it. I'm going to repeat the same process in each of the sections. I'm done attaching all 18 pipe cleaners, 6 in the middle row, and I have 12 on the outside row. Now it's time to attach the deco mesh. Since my deco mesh roll is not a full roll, I always get nervous. Originally, this was 10 yards. I already made a wreath using 5 yards, but you know how that is. You're just not sure. Maybe you kind of used a little bit more than you had to. So if you're in a situation like that, go ahead and start making 10-inch loops on the inside, and when you go to the outside, since these are closer together than these, I'm going to go down to 9-inch loops, and I'm going to go all the way around. I do want to make sure that I have plenty of deco mesh left. If you're using a fresh roll, then just do 10-inch loops all the way around. When I start, if I start right here, here I go, 10-inch loops going all the way around. When I complete my circle, I'm going to go here, and then I'm going to go flat with my deco mesh to my outside pipe cleaner, and then I'm going to continue making 9-inch loops. You can definitely do 10-inch loops going all the way around. The reason we put the pipe cleaners on row 3 and 4 towards the outside is when we're making those loops, it's easier to find our pipe cleaners, and you just go along. It's just nice and simple. Trying to work around the cat over here, but he has been a lot more clingier to me since I've gotten sick. He just won't leave me alone. So about 1.5 inches to 2 inches, we are going to start collecting. Now that we have our tail, we're going to attach it to one of the inside pipe cleaners, 2 tight twists. Then I'm going to grab a zip tie and I'm going to attach it on row 2 just to kind of tuck it in towards the center of the wreath. And I'm going to attach it about 1 inch from my pipe cleaner connection. That way it's going to straighten that tail out. Gathering my Deco mesh, I'm going to measure my 10 inches and start attaching. And I kind of hold it nice and taut, get my 10 inches, and then start attaching. Also, if you notice, my Deco mesh roll is being rolled onto the table so that when you have your poofs, they're pretty much ready to go. Look at this. I really don't have to open them up at all almost because they're just set in a way where they're just doing their job. The poof is already done for us. And here is my last loop for the inner row. And when I'm done attaching my pipe cleaners, I face them up because we are going to need them when we're attaching our little bundles. So just face them up and get them out of the way. Now I'm going to gather my Deco mesh and I'm going to go to the next pipe cleaner and I'm going to go nice and flat. I'm not making a loop right here. Let's tighten that up. And this is also where we're going to end. And I'm just going to make 9-inch loops going all the way around. I am on my last loop and I'm so glad I went down to 9 inches. I have a little bit left, but I don't think it would have been enough if I would have made 10-inch loops. So let me just cut the excess here so I can attach it. I'm going to attach it where I started the second row. 2 nice twists. That tail, I'm going to push it in towards the back, grabbing another zip tie. Going to tie it to row 3. And once again, about 1 inch from the pipe cleaner connection. Cut off the tail from the zip tie. And now I'm going to push it back in. And there you go, it's tucked in nicely. For our white Deco mesh pieces, we are going to need 36 of them, and I'm going to cut them into 10-inch strips. These are going to be for little curls that we're going to be putting in our bundles. For the ribbon, I decided to add a pink one, and this one is 1.5 inches, just like this one. It's wired. It does have some glam to it, and it's going to work perfect because our little bunny has glam on there, and the little truck tire also has a little shimmer going on. So it's going to work perfect. And I'm going to put the pink ribbon strips on the outside bundles. For the yellow polka dot, I'm going to be cutting 24 ribbon strips. For the pink, I'm going to be cutting 12 ribbon strips. All the ribbon strips are going to be 11 inches long. I'm going to do what I usually do, and I'm going to just measure my 11 inches, and I'm going to zigzag until I get 24 strips. Now that we have our 24 strips, I'm going to take each end, fold in half, cut a little triangle, making sure I cut the ends, and we have our beautiful dovetails. And now for a pink ribbon, same thing. We're going to measure off 11 inches, and we're going to zigzag until we have 12 strips. Going to fold the ends in half, cut the little triangles, and voila. Now that my ribbon is all cut up, I'm ready to start my ribbon bundles. I'm going to grab a clamp because we're going to start by making the curls first. 2 white curls. Here's my second one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to crisscross them. 2 yellow ribbon pieces. And this combo is going to go on this first or inner row. 2 twists. Then I'm going to just twist the remaining pipe cleaner, fold it in half, just like that, and fold it back. Now we're moving on to the outside row 12 bundles. So same thing, we're going to start with the white curls. And then I'm going to grab a pink one and a yellow one. I'm going to bring in a little bit of that pink to the outside, and I think it's going to look beautiful. All my bundles are attached. We have a beautiful full wreath. You can still see the original Deco mesh in the background. And now I'm going to grab the little eggs removing the eggs from the little wooden part. And then I am going to remove this little bow that's on them. And don't worry if a little bit of the foam comes off. You can always hot glue the egg right there where the foam came off. So that's okay, not a big deal. I have 18 eggs right here. And I'm just going to start hot gluing them to the ribbon bundles. And of course, where you have the little foam part, kind of want to focus on that area. And just hot glue it in place. On the truck, I decided not to use the big Happy Easter sign. It already says Happy Easter on the truck. So I'm going to remove that. And then I'm also going to remove the hanging loop. I decided to attach in 3 places. There's different ways of attaching the signs. I like using the old-fashioned way with my little felt pieces. Fold the pipe cleaners in half. Make sure you make a little flat space in the center. And now we're going to just put some hot glue right there. Our pipe cleaner. More hot glue on top, going all the way to the bottom, then attaching our piece right on top. Now I'm ready to hang the sign. Let's flip. And I always start by attaching with 1 twist. Then I'm going to go back, make sure that my sign is where I want it to be. I like where the sign is. I'm going to flip over and just secure the pipe cleaners in place. Make a little hanging loop. So find my center on top and just do a few knots. Let's cut off the excess tail and that would be it. I'm just going around making sure all our bundles are laid out beautifully. Making sure you can see the sweet little eggs that we hot glued to the center of our bundles. And there you go, your wreath is ready to go on your door. Here's what we are going to need to start our ruffle wreath. And the first thing we're going to need is a 14-inch metal wreath form from the Dollar Tree. Then we are going to need some chenille wires or stems. And then we are going to be using 6 rolls of Deco mesh from the Dollar Tree. Because this technique is new to a Dollar Tree wreath, I am going to be giving you some new measurements. Each Deco mesh roll from the Dollar Tree is 5 yards, and this is obviously the 6-inch roll. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it into 22-inch strips. And when you do that, you should have 8 of these elongated strips per roll. All right, so I'm going to cut all of my mesh up. And then we're going to make little flowers. And this technique, I promise you, it's kind of like the curly one, but it's like, oh, it's not even half the time, it's even more, because this is going to be a quick and easy wreath. We're not cutting this into 6-inch strips after all. We're cutting it into 22-inch strips. So that'll tell you right there that it's going to take you way less time to roll all of these. I will be right back, you guys. The next step is to grab some of our chenille wires, and I'm going to be folding these in half, and I like to use wire cutters. We're going to unfold each roll, but the roll, I want it to fold inside. See how it's rolling naturally on the inside? I'm going to put a piece of scissors or something so it doesn't roll up so I can work on it. And then here is what we're going to do. We're going to make one little roll. That's it. I made one little roll, and we hid all that loose mesh, I guess, on the inside. And then as soon as I have my little roll, I'm just going to bring the mesh together, and I'm just kind of like an accordion kind of thing, and bring it together. Now I'm not going to bring it together to the end. Towards the end, I'm going to let this piece also roll in, and as soon as I have a little roll, I'm going to bring it together So we're kind of hiding both endings of it. Then we're going to grab our little chenille wire and I'm bringing it together. And what I do is I like to go from the bottom up and then I twist. Okay? And we have our little kind of flower or whatever you want to call it. If you want to fast forward, that's fine, but I'm going to show it one more time. We're going to roll. Make a little simple roll. Little scissors where they belong, and then we're just going to bring them together. We're making the pretty little ruffles right now. We are just wreath experts at this time. Telling you guys, this is so easy. You'll be like, oh, Nadia, I can do this with my kids. Trying to make that last roll. So there you go, I got my roll. Bring it in, my chenille wire, like that, and then bring it up and just twist it nice and tight in the back. I have my flowers all set and ready to go. I'm going to put 4 flowers on the second row and 4 on the third one. So we're using just the 2 middle rows of the wreath. And just to make things simple, it's going to be nice and full. I have tried this before with 7 on each one. It's just not full enough in my opinion, but it's all up to you. I will be doing 4 on each of the middle rows. As you're doing this, still zigzag it. Go from top to bottom, meaning third row, second row, third row, second row, just because the way these flowers are going to be coming together. And this first one, it doesn't matter because this one's still kind of loosey-goosey over here. But as the wreath starts filling up, you will see that that's important to do that because it's just going to fill up the wreath really nicely, and you know, you're not going to have too much here or too much there. It's just going to go here like this and just get filled up really nicely. We could take care of the tails later, but this is one roll of Deco mesh, and look how full it is. You don't have too much sticking out like you do in the curly wreaths. Don't get me wrong, I love my curly wreaths, but this is easier, and you have these beautiful waves on here. And I just think this is so beautiful. And we'll figure out how we're going to decorate it towards the end. Right now, I'm just going to go ahead and fill the rest of this wreath up. And as I go along, since this one we kind of finished at the bottom here, I'm going to start at the top because I want to continue with that consistency of keeping it nice and even as we are going along. I did already 3 sections of the wreath. It's coming together really nicely. I'm grabbing this M, and I got this on clearance at Michael's. First thing I'm going to do is I am going to paint it white. I'm going to do 1 coat of the Rust-Oleum chalk paint in linen white, and then I'm going to bring in this Robin's Egg Blue by Craft Smart because I wanted to match this ribbon from the Dollar Tree, and I think it matches pretty well. Next, we're going to make a bow, and I will be using these 2 ribbons from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to start with the blue, and the first I'm going to do is I'm going to measure 14 inches for the blue ribbon. Here we go, at 14 inches, and that is going to be my starting point. Now, before I start making the tails, I am going to grab a chenille wire and just put it at the bottom. I ran out of the white, so I'm just using a silver. And so this does have a top side and a bottom side. So I'm going to be just turning over because I want my tail to be right side up. So I'm going to be turning it over. And I'm going to be making 12-inch loops, which means I'm just going to measure to my 6-inch line right here. There you go. And I'm going to just twist right here in the middle. Here we go. And we're going to do 3 loops on each side, which will make this a 6-loop bow. And twist again. This is the 3rd loop right here. And now we're making the 3rd loop for this side. Here There we go. And then we have our tail, and our tail measures at 17 inches, which is fine. One is longer than the other. Absolutely fine. I'm going to leave it right here. If you don't feel comfortable and want to tie this back, you can definitely do that. But before I tie in the back, I'm going to grab another chenille wire, and this one is going to go right on the wreath, and I'm going to put it crisscross like this, and then I'm going to make my good twist right here. Okay, and bring it to the front. All right, we're going to let that go. Just flatten it out as much as I can. Next, we're bringing in our Easter one. How beautiful is this? Once again, I'm going to measure it at 14 inches. And this time, I'm going to actually make it a little smaller. So I'm actually, instead of 6 inches, this way I'm going to go at 5. And so we're going to twist. There we go, find my center, 5 inches, because you want this one to be smaller. Even though I have 3 loops on each side, I still have room to make 1 more loop right here. Let me see how I want to do this. So I'm going to actually make a 7th loop. I'm going to twist this, and then I'm going to make a little loop right here. That'll be my center loop. So I'm going to bring it in, and I'm going to twist it in my hands right there, and then just kind of pull it down. So twist, and I'm just hiding the twist right inside. So I have this sweet little loop, and what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to bring it through, and this is where I make sure that it's nice and tight. And bring this one this way. And you can make this one as big or as small as you want. And this is why when I did this one, I just put it to the side, because you don't know which one, you know, to grab. But this way, I know this one's on the side, and it was easy to grab the one I wanted. Make it nice and tight. Twist, and I'm going to bring it in again and just kind of do this right here. And then I'm going to twist. Okay, now that our bow is made, I'm going to pull my tails down, and now I'm going to just start making the poofs and just bring them around. Now these gorgeous beauties right here. And what I do with these ones, because the tails are all right here, I'm going to push my 6 blue ones up a little bit. Using the side ones, I'm actually going to just pick a side that's kind of maybe, I don't know, you can, oh, look at this. I can actually move this aside, which is awesome. And then I'm going to attach right onto my wreath. There you go, because I do want to sink it in a little bit. So I just move these guys aside, and I just went all around all of my form right here, all my rows. Right now, my worry is to make sure I get the bow the way I want it. All right, just making dovetails on all my ribbon tails. I'm going to show you a technique that I absolutely love. So what I do is I make a little ribbon. Here's my side view. I bring it up and I pinch on the inside, and then the loop goes on top. I pinch, you could actually pinch it right here, and then just bring it back. All right, my beautiful M is all ready, and I'm going to take 2 chenille stems, and what I like to do is I like to bring it together like this, and then with my 2 fingers just hold it up like this, and I kind of make a little bit of, I don't know, like a little bridge or something. And I like doing this because it gives me more surface space to put my hot glue on. So first, let's protect the little fingers, and I'm going to put some hot glue right there. Put this on here. and then put hot glue over. And then I'm going to let it sit for just a few seconds. Next, I'm going to attach another silver one right here. All right, one more thing I want to show you on the bow. When I have a white ribbon that I'm working with, this little inside one just kind of looks out of place because it's wide and you want it to look kind of like a little poof. So what I do is I take the little edges and I fold them inside. And you just kind of do this, and then guess what? You have a sweet little poof right here, and it works really nice. Now let's move on to attaching my M. Before I move on, I do want to mention that if you are going to sell or, you know, you're going to give it to someone as a gift, I would recommend painting the bag just so it looks beautiful, because if you're doing this, this side right here is going to show through. So that is why you really do want to focus on taking care of both sides. And then I'm going to just attach it in place. If you're still here, I'm so thankful and humbled that you actually went through the video and watched the 15 Easter wreaths. Thank you so much for being with me. If you love content like that, don't forget to subscribe. And of course, give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. With that being said, thank you so much for being with us, and we will see you in our next video. Right, Simba? That's right. Bye, guys. Be 5. Yay! Mwah.